This is DRM76Z coming from you live from the graveyard on wavelength 388. Apologies for the delay and the horrible Thursday stream. I will still upload it to YouTube, of course, even though I didn't really record most of it. But today we'll be continuing Titan Quest. I was thinking I might change the streaming schedule to be ARPGs or RPGs and completing the RPG, like getting all the way through Ragnarok or getting all the way through what was the first one? The first one was Tangle Deep. I may not revisit Tangle Deep for a while. That kind of game is I have to play a little bit at a time. I do apologize the stream is not up yet. The application I use to run certain games and everything is not the greatest. It will boot and not boot at the same time. It's very bizarre. And the booting doesn't work half the time. It'll say, your program has started. Oh, wait, no, your program has not started. Stuff like that. And with stuff like that, it does make a buggier experience. So I do apologize for the lateness of this. I just wanted to hop in before the hop in at the time to stream start, and then hopefully get this running. But the problem is, when you have crappy applications, they just don't run correctly. So I may have to go, I may just have to go the old-fashioned way of brute forcing this thing, which I don't like doing. I normally like using the launcher just to, actually have a variety if I want to switch games or check updates or anything like that. But if the launcher doesn't work, I'm going to have to just boot the game through just booting the game. Which sucks, kind of, because I like using the launcher. Just, like I said, gives me my variety of my games that I can pick. But if the game is like, I'm not going to let you run, I'm going to have to, install just the game onto my PC instead of using the launcher, instead of using the shortcut. But I'm going to see what's going on here, because it should be booting. Should be. So I don't know if it's trying to start and it's just not starting, or there's something weird going on. Because the service I use, GOG Galaxy, is a DRM-free platform. It's nice to have something like that, a free an anti-DRM platform. It's kind of nice to have. Just because DRM does kind of suck for your games. Especially with the hot topic these days of, do you own your games or do you not? That whole contentious issue. I prefer to have my games, on my PC without having to rely on things like, will this launcher run? Will this run? And I've been more going to that later and later on now as I play more games, and as I get a bit older, I prefer to have the game, even if I can't have the game physically anymore, like box and disc and all that. Actually, this funny thing the other day, someone brought it up, it's like, when was the last time you seen a physical disc drive? I'm like, my old school laptop had it. And I'm like, man, that brings me back. And I'm like, man, how long ago was that? It's like X amount of years. I'm like, Jesus, I'm fucking old. And the funny thing is, you never think you're old until you feel it when someone's like, oh, remember what a disc drive was? I'm like, yeah, consoles have it. And you're like, no, incorrect. The PS5 and I think the newer Xbox actually doesn't have a disc drive. I'm like, why would they take out the disc drive? They're like, oh, for more internal space. And I'm like, internal space for what? There's not a lot more they need in there. And it's like, oh, people don't want to buy discs anymore. Like, it's the funny thing is, I remember people were warning about this like 10 years ago when people were like, oh, people are not going to buy discs anymore. They're going to only have, what do you call it? They're only going to have the boxes, right? Like the boxes you buy from like an EB Games or GameStop or whatever. And you just buy the box itself for like whatever amount, like 80 or 70 or whatever the prices are now for modern games. I generally don't play modern games. The most modern game I have played recently was Armored Core 6, Fires of Rubicon, which I did tremendously like. I am a massive mecha head. Like, I love Mecha in like all its iterations and forms, even the crazier ones. Oh my god, even the crazier ones are good too. Like, even the ones that are like, oh, they're like exosuits or crazy shit like that. I'm like, oh, because the genre of mecha should not be defined by its outliers. Or, well, actually, I think it should be defined by its outliers, not its core. Don't get me wrong, the core has very good fundamentals, right? You know, we have Gundam, we have Macross, we have a few others. I'm trying to remember. I was going to say Konoseki, but no. I would say Code Geass, but if you've read the manga where it was like no mechs at all, it made it interesting. Don't get me wrong. It made it very interesting. But at the same time, it felt like it was lacking, something like the Lancelot and something. Oh god, the Lancelot. My favorite machine was still is to this day. Like if I would want to pilot any machine in Code Geass, it has to be the Albion. Lancelot Albion. Oh my god, it is an amazing machine. Oh, that thing is terrifying as well. Like, it is horrifically powerful. Actually, I should probably check my quests here. Seek answers through the Paranus Caves. You know, why can't they ever send me nice places? Oh, you're the fabled hero, but I have to go through the muck. Like, really, guys? You can't send me anywhere nice. Not anywhere nice at all. Oh, back to the topic. Mecha. In Code Geass, my favorite machine is still like the original series, even after the movie. I watched the movie as well, and I liked the designs. Don't get me wrong, but they made them look bulky. What I liked about like the Albion, it looked very thin, streamlined, and those energy wings. When you saw those like pop open for the first time, you're like, "Oh my god, that is a machine! That is a monster of a machine!" Because its first ever appearance is they've been building up the Knights of the Round as some kind of like enforcer arm or like an elite unit of the Britannian Empire or Bretonnian Empire, and you see them do their job really well. Like I think it was the Tristan. I can't remember the pilot's name, and Mordred, which was the essentially the super tanky one. Both of them were formidable, and that was just two Knights of the Round. Remember, there's 13 of the buggers. Right? So you're like, man, imagine if all the knights are there, if like only two of them could handle our main cast for like the majority of season 2. What would it be like having all of them there, or even a portion more than just the two? And you're like, man, just imagine. And then you see Suzaku being knighted as the Knight of Zero. Obviously, the Knights of the Round do not like this, and they try to stage a coup against Lelouch the Emperor. And you just see the Albion, only one machine out of I think it was 7 or 8 remaining knights, fight him, and you're like, and their personal forces, right? Because they had the ability to have forces in Britannia loyal to them because they see them part of the old rule. Oh my god, why is my machine slowing down? Dear lord. Anyway, in this confrontation, you just see the Lancelot fucking destroy them instantly. No hesitation, no nothing. And they even have the Tristan there, and its pilot, right? You're like, oh, he was pretty formidable. And you just see the Lancelot Albion does not care. It goes right through all of them. Like, every single one. It fucking rampages them. Like, I think it's like in the beginning scene, it's just like 2 or 3 machines instantly cut down, like not even trying. Like they're like, oh, is that Suzaku? And then they instantly get shot down. Like they are just unable to even handle the Lancelot's formidable power. Even the Knight of One, who had the ability of essentially, what was it? Precog, the ability to see into the future. He couldn't even handle sensing the Lancelot Albion. His argument's, oh, it's like Suzaku's skill, right? I don't think it was Suzaku's skill. I think it was the machine. Remember, this is a 9th generation Nightmare frame. And the 9th generation, the only one that was also part of that generation of 9th was the Gurren 8 Elements. And that thing was a beast as well. So you gotta contest which one is stronger. We see in the anime, the Gurren does technically win. It doesn't blow up, not like Suzaku's machine did. So technically, it goes one to the 8 elements there, but the thing is, both of them were very fucking destroyed by the end of the battle, which is which was cool of the battle. Like it still showed Lelouch's willingness to create strategies and use strategies that were unconventional or deemed essentially impossible or seemed so outlandish to do, as a lot of his plans were, just because he pulled the unexpected so his enemy wouldn't think that. Because if you have a valuable resource, of course you're not going to destroy it, you're going to defend it. But he was more of the guy who's like, I'm willing to throw away a valuable resource to get an edge in battle, even if there might be long-term consequences. The short term, I need that surprise. I need that element to take them down. This does burn his ass a lot in the series, though, too. This short-thinking mindset to a certain degree, but also helps him tremendously. It builds loyalty and trust with certain factions faster, and his ability just to manipulate them gave him tremendous sway over them. But the thing is, a lot of his plans did get undermined by just his brother, who just is like, yeah, he killed all those people. Like the nonchalant where he's just like, yep, he got rid of a lot. And the Black Knights, obviously, Zero is their leader, right? That's Lelouch's persona, Zero. And obviously, they've been through a lot of shit with Zero. And you're like, okay, why would we believe some Bretonnian prince? And essentially, Sneasel, the second prince, he pretty much breaks it down to them. He pretty much says, hey, you know, this is my younger brother, half-brother. Yeah, Britannia's weird like that. Very, very, very noble, very old Englishy kind of, or well, just more old empire kind of stuff, where it's like people would have trysts with various people and all that, and have half siblings, all that interesting stuff would always happen. That's what Britannia kind of throws back to for that kind of stuff, which is really cool. Anyway, though, back to Lelouch. Essentially, Prince Nigel pretty much gets he pretty much envoys himself. Essentially, he's like, hey, there's something about your leader you should know about. And since they didn't really have guidance Zero at the time, because he was freaking out about Nautilus and that whole final battle, he just didn't. He was just shocked, right? Like, he just lost a family member he literally started all this for, and they were taken out by a weapon that he could never have predicted, which is the Flea Warhead, by his best friend, who at this point was essentially mentally broken after this. Like, there was a really good scene in it, which I thought was really good. After the Flea is fired and Lelouch is just fucking shocked, losing, the one family member he still could rely on. He lost his one last person that he could go, hey, this is a person I can rely on. And he lost them in essentially, I'd say nuclear fire, but it's not nuclear because it doesn't. It's like a negative space kind of nuke thing where it would just. I guess it's closer to antimatter, I suppose, like an antimatter bomb where it just sucks everything in that's in existence and leaves like massive craters and shit. Like it leaves no damage besides the hole it leaves. So anything that was there is just now a crater or a hole, but no like fallout, no anything. Just gone in an instant. And there's no way of surviving that. And Lelouch sees this, and he's like, holy fuck, I just lost the sole reason I caused these wars. The fight against Britannia, the fight what I believed was injustices, and he realizes all the points I just did, everyone I sacrificed, everyone I killed to achieve my goals, is now worthless. And of course it would shatter anyone. Like, as far as Lelouch went, he could have went a lot farther in certain things. Like, he knew there was rebellious elements in his forces, right? Ones that are more sympathetic to certain things, but he never quashed them. He fueled them so they become more loyal to him, but he should have just said, hey, no, you cut this shit out. So he was still more laid back as a leader because he only saw his own objective, not the goals of his troops. And when you have a band of troops that are all allegiances are kind of formed because they kind of trust you, kind of not trust you, that's not a good way to be a leader when your potential forces could betray you at any moment, even though they have simulated loyalty towards you. If they learn the truth of your deceptions, well, they're gonna obviously rebel, regardless on the loyalty. Because that's what happened. Essentially, he was supposed to be very. A lot of his troops were very loyal to him because they saw him as a very good leader. And then Prince Nigel essentially gets onto the Avalon, which is the. Was it the Avalon or was it Black Knight Strike Cruiser? I can't remember the ship that it was called at the moment. I gotta rewatch it again. Great series, but he walks on there and he pretty much tells him, "Hey, Lelouch, or Zero is Lelouch Lamperouge, or Lelouch v Britannia." I can't. Was he 15th or 13th in the line of the throne or something? It was like 15th or 13th. It was a number beyond 10, and essentially Prince Nigel pretty much breaks it down, saying, "Hey, he has something called Geass. Geass mind controls people to do things that are fucking insane, like something that goes against their free will and robs them of their free will." Which he's not wrong. It's just he painted Lelouch in a very bad light. And to be fair, he could have mind controlled his subordinates, like I said before. Instead of he tried to gain their trust naturally instead of just outright geossing the crap out of them. And essentially, so he could prevent rebellions, which is ironic because he is like the king of all rebellions. Like he would just keep causing more rebellions and resistance and uprisings, which I thought was very hilarious. Where it's just like the man that instigated more riots and rebellions and insurrections was now the man that gets hunted down by his own insurrection. It is poetic justice at its finest. But at the same time, you're like, dear God, the man that, like, he could have done that, right? Like, and it would have been very simple for him to do that. But he wanted to earn their trust instead, which is funny thing is, like, that's very foolish of him. And even Prince Nigel points that out. He's just like, hey, man, you have the ability to literally mind control people, and instead of just mind controlling them, you try to gain their trust. And Lucia's counter-argument was they will fight better if they have a more just cause they can understand instead of being a mindless zombie. Which does get proven right when the Black Knights fight the Emperor Lelouch's forces at the end of the series. Where they're fanatical, sure, right? And they're willing to die for the Emperor. But the problem is they don't have the staying power, even if you're like, oh, you know, the other ones are more skilled or anything. We've seen what happens when a skilled soldier, like, let's say Suzaku, has that Geassi's curse with, like, the to live. We've seen, like, he will pull out any stop to survive and to win. So we've already seen that. Map, let me just check something. I want to check the big map, see where I'm going. Okay. This is the cave, and the quest is to go through the caves. Do I have any side quests? Abandoned goods. A trader in a ruined city, only to be scared off his self-worth. He told me his goods. When I could find them. 1,000 XP could be good, but I don't really want it at the moment. And I don't know if there was any stuff in that other place, so I'm just going to keep going. But no, Code Geass, really good series. Very interesting ideologically. I find it's very fascinating on like on both the opinions of both the strongest leaders in that series, Lelouch and Schneisel, his older brother, the only brother that could ever beat him in chess. And it was interesting. Essentially, Schneisel is like, everyone wants a king to solve their problems. No one wants to deal with things on their own. No one wants to take accountability. And Lelouch is like, people desire freedom regardless. And they will take that freedom. So if you give them simulated freedom, they'll always try to find true freedom. Schneisel rejects it and says, no, they don't want their freedom. They want someone to do all the thinking for them. So it's easier for them to live. Which both of them have fair points, right? People will seek freedom regardless. And if someone's being persecuted wrongly, people will fight stronger for that. And I love the battle between the two. Not only like the battles at the end of the series, but the battle between Lelouch and Schneisel's ideologies, where it's like one is more restrictive and authoritarian, and then the other one is more about liberty and freedom, but the thing is, at what cost? Lelouch's is a severe cost. Like, especially for him, he gets killed, like, he dies. Spoilers, he dies. Well, okay, then the movie spoils it and says, oh, he's back now, but neither here or there. And arguments could be like his grand plan technically failed because war still existed. But I think conflict will inevitably rise regardless on your preemptive, all the sins on the world on an individual. I think grudges will still remain over time. And, like, for example, there's nothing stopping a country that was taken over by Lelouch be like, hey, we're our own country again. They're, like, taking us over, right? So, I don't doubt there are a lot of countries like that where they're just like, oh, Britannia is essentially destroyed or really weakened at this point. We're going to declare independence. Why would we work for a new empress when we can just reestablish our country and our cultures? Right? So I could see that happening a lot too. So it might have bring like peace to the world, like temporarily, but not long-standing peace. And I don't think it could, because you know the inevitable human struggle of we have to fight each other because someone has more resources or more land or prestige or religious reasons. Or if I remember the movie was like, oh, they're just a band of mercenaries. And it's a country that sells war or sells their soldiers for war because they don't like starting wars themselves. They just like the money war can bring. So they just trained to be really good mercenaries, and then they were essentially bought out by any military that was willing to have them. But their allegiance was still to their home country, and they wouldn't fight their own home country soldiers if they could help it, of course. But they were a nation of mercenaries, and their main trade was mercenaries. Or you could argue war. And without war, in Lelouch's ideal world, they have no job. So now they have to create wars and conflicts. And who's the biggest player in town? Oh, Britannia is. So they go to war to Britannia. And Britannia has never won against them. And I find the story evolves just essentially, it's like, oh yeah, someone just can Groundhog Day and figure out their attack strategy every time. And you're like, yeah, that's effective to a certain degree, but there's other times where you just are such an overwhelming force that you just destroy. Like, you don't stand a chance of taking them down. Because that's the one thing I didn't like about that, where like, oh, they can figure a countermeasure every time. Like, some countermeasures take like more than 12 or 18 hours. I think her power was like 12 hours or something. That's how Lelouch figured out, oh, they're doing things that only last a certain amount of time. And he figured that out. He's like, okay, they're doing it that only lasts like 15 to 20 hours or something like that. And he was using C2 because she was still immune to the effects of something like that. Of Geass's, because that is a Geass. And I did like the supernatural element in Code Geass. Like, the supernatural elements were fascinating. And they were very weird to have because, like, some of them were used really interestingly. Like the guy with precog, the Knight of One, he used his one to like just beat anyone in battle. And generally he's like, oh, I've not used this power since fighting Lady Marion, which was Lelouch's mother. And you're like, so he developed his skill over time without using it, or he probably was using it but just to a similar well, if we believe the Knight of One at his word, right? I tend to believe him just because he was a very honorable knight to a certain degree. Like, he was the Knight of One. He was Charles's main knight. But I wouldn't doubt, like, if push came to shove, he would have used his Geass. Like, when he fought Suzaku, he used it because push came to shove. Suzaku showed himself as a worthy opponent in the Knight of One's eyes. And he's like, okay, I'm going to take this guy seriously, just like how I fought Lady Marion. And I found what was interesting was you've only used this power apparently twice, so you never developed it like how Lelouch developed his Geass to control people, or Rolos. But Rolos was a bit unique, because the more Rollo would try to develop it, the more it would try to kill him. So I could understand why he would like be very sparingly using it. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, crap. Jesus. Holy fuck. That was dangerous. Oh my god. Jesus, good lord. The poison effect, and the flasks too. Oh my god. Alright, I need mana, because I think that's what ice does. And if you're going to affect by ice status effect in Titan Quest, you lose mana, or one of them is a power hungry bastard. Come on. Come on, come on, come on. Come on. Come on. Oh, what the hell? Nice. Got her. What the hell? Oh my god. Oh, it's lightning. That's what's doing it.
Your inventory is full.
Of course it is. Of course my inventory's full. I still want to use the obsidian breastplate because that one is really good. Like, look at that. 50% health regen? Hell yeah. But the thing is, 50% of 0 is still 0, so I gotta make sure I find health regen items. But I'm going to just use the washroom real quick. I'll be back, chat. Probably like 5 minutes, probably. So you guys just keep yourselves entertained, you know? Make some jokes in the chat bar there and all that. And I'll be back shortly. I know I should probably go back to town, but it should be fine. I just gotta see if my big brother was knocking on my door earlier, because I think I heard a knock. But with my headset on, I can't really hear things. So I'll be back 15, 20 minutes. I'm gonna put the BRB screen on, just so, you know, you guys don't get a little too bored. Shift T. Hell yeah, it worked. Alright, so I'll be back. Well, chat, I am back. Washroom didn't take too long, and my brother just went out to pick up the order for pizza, so let's get back to it, Mesame. Right, I don't have a... I forgot, I don't actually have something to switch back to the currency I'm using, which is a GMD1. So I don't have that currently set up yet. Like I said, I'm still a massively new streamer. Like, I'm still just understanding the fundamentals on how do you stream? How do you keep yourself entertaining to an audience? How do you do a lot of this shit? How to be an entertainer? Well, just cracking jokes and all that, you know? Being able to laugh and have fun. Actually, I just realized I don't have my enchantment on. Is that why I was getting fucked earlier? God damn it. Oh, maybe they dispelled it. Maybe? But I didn't know enemies could just... I ran out of energy. That's why. I didn't know... Ah. That did it. Oh, I thought I would need a store. Perfect. I'm hoping to get to Egypt. I was more hoping to be able to face punch Anubis. I thought that'd be really funny, but no. You don't get to fight Anubis in this. Which is unfortunate. You know, the god of the underworld in Egypt mythology. I wish you killed a lot more gods in this. You only kill, I think, 1 or 2. But I think you killed an aspect 1 or 2 of them, I think. Oh yeah, that's only for pets, though. I have no pets. Because I'm a stone speaker, so I'm earth and... what's the other one called? Oh yeah, this one's good. This one's banging. So more health, obviously. I want more health. This breastplate could be good, only if I didn't have a better one already. What I want to do is increase intelligence and strength. I was going to increase health, but generally increasing your stats doesn't really help. Like, your health and energy. It generally doesn't help. Generally. Also, in Titan Quest, they did come out with expansions, right? Like, there's Atlantis, right? Which is pretty fun. The whole, oh, it's an ancient civilization with advanced shit. And there is advanced shit there. Like, very advanced. But I like this game. It leaned it more to the mystical side of technology. Instead of the, oh yeah, it's this legendary this and legendary that. It's like, no, 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 no. It went with, like, it's just generic technology with a magical spin, which I thought was interesting. For, like, Atlantis. And I was thinking, oh, they're going to add a gem system and all that. But the thing is, I never played the very original Titan Quest. This is the anniversary edition, so this has, I think, a bunch of newer life updates and all that, right? So it doesn't make it. It makes it like more have the changes that they already did to the core game there. But what I'm talking about is there are starts. So you can start with so there's 2 very big expansions for Titan Quest, which I think one just came out a year or so ago, which was the Ember Quest, or was it the what was it called? It was Ember something. And this Ember one essentially gets you back into Oriental China. And it's known as the Oriental place. You know, don't be like, oh, it's politically incorrect or whatever. No, it's literally called that. That's what Act 3 is called as well, as Oriental, and you're just going through a bunch of places. Which is weird, because you go through, like, Babylon, but you also go through, like, ancient China as well. I was more hoping you'd go through ancient Japan, to be fair, but I don't even know what Japan would be doing around this time, around the Greek era. What would they be doing around that time? My history around that time for that is very unknown. What were the Japanese doing around when the Greeks were around? But you have to wonder, is this after or before? Wait, what the? I can't even attack him. What the hell's... Now I can attack him. Why is there just a circle of trees? Okay, there's just... Oh, maybe it's like a barrier move or something to prevent him being attacked? Okay. Health, energy. That's weird. Ooh, Staff of the Magi. If I was a magic user, that would be really nice. Like, actually... So yeah, back to what I was talking about. So, oh, it's the Eternal Quest. That's what it was called. It was called the Eternal Quest, which was the last expansion made for Titan Quest, and it was made in the modern era, like I think it was like 2021 or 2022. So, like, Titan Quest was still getting patches and, you know, updates even after, I think it was like 10 or 13 years after Titan Quest initially released. Like, Titan Quest's old. I can't remember how old it is, but it's old. Like, it's very old. And then THQ, the guys that made it, went under, and then it's THQ Nordic, which is, like, essentially a resurrection of the company. Like, THQ were the guys that made, like, Darksiders. They're the ones that they made a bunch of interesting shit. And they were, like, a really interesting company. And what I remember, like, watching a video about what happened to them was apparently they invested into a bunch of new tech that never took off. I think it was, like, some kind of sketchpad or something. And then they invested, like, essentially way too many resources, spread themselves way too thin. Because they were looking for alternative avenues besides gaming to, you know, allow, like, so let's say gaming hits a slump or something, right? This is generally, like, a lot of businesses will do this. They'll invest in other avenues of business besides the one they primarily are in. Let's say you manufacture things, right? Well, instead of just manufacturing, let's say, bottles, for example, or whatever, you try to manufacture bottles with liquid in them, like a drink. Or you try to manufacture other parts of that bottle, like caps, or parts of the bottles themselves, like the necks of the bottle, or something like that, right? Just so you have the ability to diversify your portfolio. So let's say there's a rainy day where everyone's like, oh, we have too many bottles, or there's a regulation where you can't have certain kinds of bottles anymore. So instead of being, like, screwed over and your business now unable to survive, generally business try to diversify with different avenues of revenue. Like, if you build, let's say you build certain kinds of tech, right? Let's say you build, like, security software, right? You try to spec into something else to keep the business alive. Oh, that's my brother. I'll be pausing real quick, and I'll be back in 15-20 minutes. BRB. Alright. Back to stream, boys. My scraplets, let's go. Now. Yeah, I just talked to my brother about his day and all that. Anyway. Back to killing goatmen in the forest here. Sorry, Lower War Camp. Actually, I can't believe how close I am to completing this area. Am I? Oh god, it's one of those things where you don't play a game for like several months and you remember the vague storylines and everything, but you can't remember what progress you made. And even the game tells me to a certain degree, but there are some parts I thought were shorter than I remember. And some of them were longer than I remembered. So I'm like, oof. Very oof. Oh, I was just talking to my brother. There was I think a game I was playing before stream. I kind of got like really sucked into it and I was debating, oh, should I not play it? I'm like, oh, I could play it on stream. And I'm like, well, if I did that, I would have to start from zero again. And starting from zero again is not fun for certain games like that because they are a long burn. It's an XCOM-like game. It's known as King Arthur's Tale. Actually, what was it called specifically? Let me check this. It is King Arthur Knight's Tale. And that game, essentially, the whole Arthurian lore occurs. You know, Mordred comes to power, or, well, Mordred tries to seize power from the king, King Arthur. They get into an epic fight. They both die. And the game kind of starts when Arthur is being sent to Avalon. And, of course, Mordred is already there in Avalon, obviously, because he did die. And what happens is, oh boy, things get fucky. So the Lady of the Lake is like, I'm going to revive King Arthur. Britannia is in ruin. They need a king. She tries to revive him. As she tries to revive King Arthur... Oh, floating chest. Look at that. Did you see? Titan Quest is such a magical game. Even chests float. Look at that. Floating chests. Hell yeah. She tries to revive King Arthur. Not a good idea to revive a very pissed off king. And in the process of trying to revive him, a storm occurs and tips over the ship, causing the revival process to go all screwy. So now Lady of the Lake is like, oh shit, now I have this incredibly evil King Arthur running around. What am I going to do to resolve this? So she's like, I'm going to get the one man that only killed Arthur Pendragon, Mordred. She's like, where's Mordred? Oh, he's also in Avalon. I'm going to get him. He was the only man that killed King Arthur. She kind of misses the point of Arthur ended up killing Mordred. You know, it wasn't a Mordred won and just chopped off Arthur's head. It was they both died. So I think her idea was hoping that they would both kill each other off. Is her hope. So you play as Mordred in this game to essentially fight King Arthur. Again, it's also very interesting where there are knights that remember, you know, Mordred's rise to power and everything, or Mordred trying to seize the throne. And generally the game has 4 alignments: Christianity, Old Faith, and Rightful and Wrongful. Or, well, Tyrant is more accurate. So, Tyrant is generally what you would think Mordred would be, like Tyrant and probably Old Faith, because his mother was Morgwise and all that. The one game is like, oh, you know, the rightful path is, you know, being rightful, which is like kingly and forgiving and very, you know, very accommodating and accepting of like the weird situation you're in Avalon, or you essentially you're like, I'm a tyrant and I'm going to take over. And the two opposites for the other one is for the faiths is Christianity or paganism. The Old Faith, which is like all the crazy myth shit that would be part of Avalon already, and Christianity, which, come on, it's a knight game. Come on. Who doesn't want to be a crusading knight in heavy armor, just fucking crusading? Even though it's, you know, it's more Arthurian, it's still fun to just be crusading. Like, the mission I was stuck on for a little bit was the White Knight mission. So in the game, as you progress through the moralities, you get recruitable characters from it, right? The ones that represent whatever that, I guess, ideology or faith, essentially. So, for example, if you go rightful and Christian, you get something called the White Knight, who is like the knight of Christianity itself, essentially a knight or an aspect of essentially Christianity, embodied as a knight of Christianity, where he upholds the faith regardless on the faith of Christianity. And I was doing that mission, and in that mission, oh my god, it annoyed me at first because I thought the mission was okay, and I thought, oh man, there's a lot of minion spam, and I'm one level lower. Because the game has levels, right? So I'm like, okay, maybe because it's a little too hard, the writing is in red. Maybe you're generally supposed to do each mission, at the appropriate level, obviously. So I'm like, okay, I'll come back to it when I'm one level higher. Get to be one level higher, did another quest, and then I'm like, okay, let me do this again. So I start getting it. I have a more optimal party as well. I have 2 archers, 1 heavy champion, and 1 defender, which is Mordred. And I go in there, I'm like, okay, I can handle this guy. This guy isn't too bad at first, because you have a 5th character, which is the White Knight. The problem is, the White Knight is one of the squishiest units I've ever seen, and he's also a champion. Champion's normally like a heavy damage dealer and very heavy. I'm like, you're supposed to be like a heavy knight of Christianity, and you can barely take on the dead of all things. This is literally your bread and butter of smiting the wicked. And you can barely do that.
Your inventory is full.
So I'm just dreading to use him because I got him really fucking injured. So in this game, King Arthur's Tale, A Knightly Tale, what happens is... So how the game works is you have an armor bar, a health bar, and a vitality bar. So the vitality bar is your true health. So if you start losing vitality, it will actually start affecting your character, and it can't be healed in the game at all unless a special shrine happens. Like a special modifier you can find, and that's very rare. And the other thing is your overhealth. Your overhealth is the health you're supposed to lose. It won't cause injuries if you lose this health. So you're like, oh, as long as I don't lose that health, that's fine. You'd be correct. But the problem is, enemies love to swarm, and they love to also have a lot of health and overhealth. Like, oh, they should only have vitality. No. A lot of them have overhealth, and oh my god, do they have a lot of it. Especially the Lost, which are essentially the undead. The undead have a lot of health, and they have a lot of FU troops as well. Like, the reason that I struggled in that quest, there was a lot of banshees, or I'm trying to remember what they're actually called in game, but essentially they're monsters that are just incredibly powerful. Like, incredibly powerful. And they have the ability to minion spam. And, well, the general combat is XCOM-like. So, your whole grid thing, everyone has turns, they move in turns, and all that. So, the problem is, when you're fighting combat like that, generally the rule of thumb is cut down as many enemies as possible in one turn. Instead of just weakening them all, you go, okay, kill one target, and keep killing targets, instead of them having numbers on their side, right? Because if they have numbers, they can just swarm and overwhelm you. So generally you go one heavy target at a time. See which one's the worst one to fight. If they have like 10 archers, you take out the archers first and then take the melee guys on. Stuff like that, right? Very basic situational awareness for combat. Well, the problem is when they can summon their reinforcements on the fly constantly. Or, well, it takes them a few rounds, right? It does. But the problem is if they just gung up your guys by just having more and more units to kill, you'll get so gunked up to a point where you can't even use certain things. Where they'll just attack and attack and attack, and you have no chance to recover. So they keep you perpetually on the back foot. Because their units can move further than yours. Their units can keep better pressure. So you just get screwed 9 days to Sunday fighting those guys. You're like, there must be some way to win. The only way I won was because, for example, it's still also part of the bad thing about those recruitment quests is it's an NPC escort quest. Don't get me wrong, they do help you, But the problem is, you don't want that help to be a hindrance. And sometimes it is, because they just don't have ideal setups or anything. Oh, I'm level 13. Oh. Is my armor giving me... Oh, yeah, 10 strength. I should fix that. Boof. There we go. There. Oh, look at that. Now I look like a techno warrior. Oh, yeah. Beautiful. Just beautiful. Hell yeah. 50 health, or 80 health plus 50 regen. Oh, yeah. That works. That's amazing. Look at that armor. Makes you look very techno. Like, it is the Atlantis armor. Like, look at that. That's very Atlantis-y. Anyway, back to what I was talking about this King Arthur game. Well, in this game, a lot of stuff happens in it, and there's some things you can avoid and some things you can't avoid. One more, bam. Now I can dual wield. Oh yeah, finally. 2 sword time. Yeah. Oh. Well, that is the cost of 2 swords, okay? I just have to wear a bit crummier armor for now until I can wear this again. Intelligence and piercing damage. That's good enough. Actually, this sword might be better than my other Khopesh. Or Crescent Blade, sorry. I like the look of these things. They're so nice looking. They're nice, long, slender blades. And I know this one is better. The Khopesh? Or Kopes? I can't pronounce it. It's a weird Greek name. Yeah, I can't wear it. Damn it. But in this King Arthur game, essentially what happened was I kept getting brutalized. So every time I would have the White Knight retreat, just so he could like stay alive in the fight before the next shrine the next bonfire I could find to heal him up. Like, you control the characters completely, right? So there shouldn't be any issues there. Every time I tried to make sure, hey, idiot, get to the corner. Hey, idiot, don't try to go into combat. The fucking skeletons would spawn around him, or the Lost would spawn around him and gank him. I'm like, am I playing Dark Souls or am I playing a strategy RPG? This is not strategy. This is, the enemy has overwhelming numbers. You do not get fucked. Think of a better strategy. I'm like, there is no strategy. There is no strategy for numbers except just wiping out the numbers. But if the numbers are so bad, you can't kill them all. I gotta fix my desk real quick. I have a bunch of model kits on there. I like having a bunch of model kits on my desk just to play around with for loading screens and stuff. And I'm like, there's no way to survive this at all. And the game's like, oh, there's a way to survive. You just have to figure it out. And I'm like, so it took me like an hour to figure out how to do it. I'm like, okay, I have to use the White Knight as an offense, but also a defense. And once I figured that out, I just started pulling back and going forward, pulling back and going forward. I used them as hit and run. Which is, oh, I forgot to buy health potions. God damn it. Oh, well. Nice. My damage is a lot higher now. Nice. I'm going to head back to town again just to buy health potions. I'm going to buy like 35, I think. I'm going to have to fight the Gorgon sisters. And when I fight them, they are tough cookies. They are some tough customers. So I want to make sure I can actually take them down. Because now I have my intended way to play, which is my dual wielding set. I am going to switch back to using certain things. That one's still technically better for damage, so I'd rather have that. Because it's a better sword. So health potions here. I would, I love when people are like, you should use it on a click. I'm like, no, that's kind of pointless. What does this do? Open, conduit, mystical powers, don't care. Breaking wheel, nope, 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 nope. Don't know what those are, and I've never really used them, so I'm good. They could be incredibly overpowered. I have no idea, but I don't like using them. Yeah, but that King Arthur game, I think I had like 7 or 8 minutes before I could start stream for 7:30. And then I realized, damn, I was thinking, oh, maybe I should play this game. I'm like, no, I should finish Titan Quest. And I had like an urge to play Titan Quest. And I was like, oh, I should switch to a new game. Like, no, I think the game of the week will be essentially the ARPG of the month or the week. So essentially, let's say I start playing like Titan Quest or Last Epoch or any of those kinds of games, I'm going to change it to that. I'm going to like do it to completion. As in completion, as in doing all like expansions and DLCs and all that. Just to complete as much of the game as possible to get the full experience. Because I realized I was watching, I think a YouTuber the other day, where they would start a series, right, and they would never finish it. They would just go, okay, you know, this is an interesting game, check it out. But they wouldn't explain any further or deeper on like how it worked. They were just like, yeah, you know, this is a game, you know, it's pretty interesting, pretty cool, pick it up on like Steam or whatever, see ya. I was like, but you only played like a quarter of the game or a half of the game. Why don't you complete the game? So we as the audience can see the rest of the game. And they just they just do like, oh, this is how this game plays or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, sure, that drums up interest for the game, but I'm like, I'm more interested to see how it plays out. That's what I like. There's one YouTuber I like watching, Manly Badass Zero. Oh my god. He plays some of the weirdest and unique games I've ever seen anyone play. And he's just like, I'm going to play it. Like, if it's a game that tickles his fancy, he's like, I'm going to play until completion. There's not any content I know of his that he hasn't completed till completion. Like, one of my favorite series I like watching is the Deathmark series he did, where he played Deathmark, which I also want to do. I might do it for Halloween this year, maybe. Because I love... Because it's a VN, and I know the stigma of VN, you know, pornographic and all that shit. Or cornographic, sorry. Oof. Oh, I said the bad word. Corn. Anyway, it has very spicy elements to it, obviously. And you're like, oh, it's a horror game. Like, yes, it is definitely a horror game. I'm pretty sure the series is actually called Spirit Hunter, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, this series is particularly, I find, very interesting. Where curses, grudges, and all that are real, and it's in Japan. Of course, it's in Japan. It's a VN. And normally VNs have the negative connotation, like I said earlier, being very spicy content oriented. Like, incredibly spicy. And to be fair, I could see why they are. Just like how manga have, you know, more interesting manga. I'll say that. And I could see that. But I don't like when a medium is like, oh, it's only meant for this kind of subject matter only. Because, yes, it has explicit content in Deathmark. But Deathmark is a horror, like a horror mystery kind of thing. So they're using essentially nudity and all that to display horror. Not because it's supposed to be a sexual thing. And I don't like when people construe the two as same. Yeah, those are Gorgons at work. So I don't like, I play VNs. And everyone's like, oh, you're into the racy ones. Like, I played the racy ones, don't get me wrong. I played them, not for the raciness, but for the weird story elements they have in them. Like, it was funny, my friend, he's like a big Fate fan, and he got me into Fate. And I was like, oh yeah, Fate's really interesting. You know, the whole power system and everything's really interesting. And he pretty much told me, he's like, you know, it was a spicy VN, right? And I'm like, oh, that explains a lot. Because there were scenes in that, in like the anime, where I was like, this is a little weird. Like, a little weird, but I was like, okay, you know, it's just weird, right? It's anime, right? And you think it's just a little weird. Then he explained to me later on, he's like, no, that's supposed to be a X-rated scene kind of thing in the VN. But they just didn't put it in the anime, so it's more digestible for people to actually watch. I'm like, well, that does make a few things more, make sense, I suppose. Because there's certain scenes in that series for,
You can't carry anymore.
for Fate, where I'm like, that does kind of make sense. It was spicy content. Now that I rethink it, and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. And I'm like, oh. It's one of those things where you realize, oh yeah, that does make a lot of sense now, doesn't it? Oh man, I can't believe I was a bit of a ditz when I couldn't figure that out earlier. But no, it's one of those things where you're like, oh, but it doesn't ruin my enjoyment of that series still, though. You think, oh, you know the truth behind the series now, you wouldn't want to watch it. I'm like, no, I like rewatching a lot of the Fate stuff. It may have started like that, but it sure as hell isn't like that now. It's gotcha now. But back to my original tangent about Deathmark. Deathmark is a very interesting game. Essentially, you're essentially a spirit detective, as in, like, you investigate hauntings and everything like that. But that's, like, the arc later on. So in the beginning one, called Deathmark, you have this mark on your arm, which supposedly kills you. I say supposedly because it will actually rip you apart, essentially. Like, you will die. And essentially, you have to figure out what spirit gave you this death mark. And the setup is essentially an episodic setup where throughout various go through with other spirits, you figure out if they are the ones that gave you your death mark. Also, you have amnesia. Because if you didn't have amnesia, this plot twist at the end wouldn't be a plot twist. You'd be like, oh, well, of course it was you. It was you from the start. Why wouldn't I know that, right? So obviously there are some plot things to occur.
You have no
Yeah, I have no room. I was thinking of going back to town, but I'm like, gold. No, I'm not going back to town. I'm killing those darn serpents first, and then I may go back to town. Okay. But no, I do like ARPGs like Diablo, Last Epoch, Path of Exile, all that goodness. I love those kind of games. They're great. Grim Dawn's another one. But I'm more hoping to play Grim Dawn when the expansion comes out. There is a new expansion supposedly coming out soonish. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, so these are I think they are the Gorgon sisters, if I remember correctly, my Greek mythology. However, I am very rusty on my Greek mythology. I mean, very rusty. Yeah, so I may not actually be able to defeat them here, just because they are pretty tough customers. And I mean very tough. So I may have to grind a few levels or just some XP just to kill them. Because they are tough. Like, they are not like a Saturday afternoon kind of easygoing kind of Gorgons. These are Greek mythology bastards that will fucking curse the shit out of you. And again, it does make sense. This is literally Greece, so if I wasn't expecting the Greece experience like that. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff in this game where it will fucking Shrek you instantly. And it's very easy to Shrek you. Then again, I have gone offense instead of defense, and relying more on my armor to keep me alive, instead of like other like stats that would preserve me and keep me alive. So it is kind of a double-edged sword. I have picked an offensive build and defensive, so of course magic and shit will obviously rip me apart very easily. I've learned the more defensive skills you pay for trees, the worse you'll be off. In this game, anyway. There's other ones where playing a complete defensive game and using like thorn damage or retaliation damage is 100% not only viable but optimal. But a lot of games do pay you being aggressive, like will give you better results if you're more of an attack style player instead of a defensive one. Generally. Like I said, I know there are some exceptions, and I know people will play these games very differently. And then when you know the secret to play this kind of game, or the game in particular like Titan Quest, you immediately just always do the same best strat every time, instead of actually exploring and doing new moves, or new fighting, or doing different things. As you know, oh, class A with class B, and then you get like certain set of class abilities together are just game winning. Like, as in, nothing can hurt you, nothing can kill you, and get X staff at this area, and get X powerful thing here and there and all that, and you're unstoppable. And yeah, of course you can play that way, but I find that's just really boring. Yeah, but they're not injured, I don't think. No, they're not. Oh, wait, she is. Oh, I'm stoned. Uh-oh. Well, I was petrified. Huge difference. I'm not actually stoned. Phrasing is very important. Okay, killed the first one. Good. Kill the other archer. Archers go down first because I think they have healing abilities. Because they are nature domain. Nature is like your, essentially, support. And it's actually interesting though. Like, you can get nature, and nature can also give you like the wolf and stuff, which I think the pets are really cool in this game. Because they are very, like, you know, just animals. Like, these guys are tough customers, and, like, they are tough. They're Gorgon Queens as well, you know. They're not the Medusa, because she would already be technically dead. Technically. Because I think the legends of heroes have already passed through this game, like, you know, what was his name? I can't remember his name. The one that beheaded Medusa. I can't remember him. I'm a bit of a buff about this kind of stuff. I can't remember the particular man that killed Medusa. I don't think was it Achilles? Maybe it was Achilles. I think. Was it? I'm gonna put it on my big sword. Because fire really helps. Especially when I enchant my blades already with fire. Also, she's a cool character.
I can't believe I let those Gorgons get the better of me. I won't make that same mistake.
Well,
twice.
Gorgons can turn into are big, so
I can't believe I let those Gorgons get the better of me.
yeah. You don't have much of a chance when they can turn you into stone before you can even move. I wouldn't really blame her. If you get turned to stone instantly, you can't do much while being a stone statue, and remember, stone statues aren't that strong.
Thank you, but goodbye. I have matters to attend to.
As you can tell, like, by her outfit and everything else, she's from the third act of the game, where it's the Oriental act, where it's like Babylon and more like ancient China and everything. Which is interesting when you go through Babylon and then you end up in ancient China. It's very interesting. Then I think the fourth act... Where was the fourth act? I can't remember the fourth... I think the fourth act was Hades. Or sorry, Realm of the Dead, I think it was. Not Hades itself. Which is a weird distinction to make at first. That's better armor. I'm going to head back to the town again, just so I can sell all the crap I have. And I don't think the guy's a storage, so I don't think I can really use him as storage. I'm just going to sell him my garbage. And then buy, like, a fuck ton of health potions again. But no, back to the Deathmark conversation. I loved Deathmark as, like, a game. Like, I haven't played it myself yet, but I do want to play it. Because I want the experience, even though I know how the story ends and all that. I still want to experience the story for myself. I still want to enjoy the story. And I still want to see the story to its completion, because it's such an interesting game. For like an idea, like they have manga for it now, and they have a whole bunch of interesting stuff on it. Oh, thank God there's a buyback feature, because that would have been really stupid. What my curiosity is, if I put a strength bonus on armor, oh, you can't apply Relic Charm to a legendary item. Interesting. But I can apply it to a regular piece of armor, so bam. Now I can wear my super sci-fi suit. Awesome. I should probably head back to a town, though, to get this bow, armor, and everything else. Because I do like collecting certain armor pieces like this, just because on later playthroughs, if you get more of that armor, you can actually use it. At its full capacity, of course. Because the likelihood, a lot of times in these kinds of games...
Hail, stranger! Leonidas has gone. He is in Athens.
Oh, interesting. I forgot you can actually check up on the soldiers here, and they tell you where our Greek god Leonidas has gone to. I forgot about that. It's one of the interesting tidbits in these kinds of games where they some of them, if you go back to certain places, you shouldn't be there anymore. You go back there, and you're like, yeah, Leonidas already left to this place. You're like, oh.
Etelki. Travel safely, warrior.
Telki. Yep. Alright, there's my storage guy. There we go. Done. Perfect. Okay. Also, I made the mistake one time. I went to one of the rebirth fountains in a town that I was like 10 leagues away from, as in like I was at like the last point of an act. But the problem is I would keep spawning at this shrine until I realized, why do I keep spawning at this shrine? I'm like, oh, that's why. Also, my swords are way more powerful now than they should be. With that just one element, one upgrade. Storm Eye, what's that? Is that a helmet? Attack Gladius, Scholars. Let me check that. Storm Eye. Oh, it's a... Huh. 7 lightning resist, 7 fire, chance of retaliation, lightning damage, and intelligence. Oh, that's good. Like, that just gives you a massive benefit to a lot of things. That's generally why blues are pretty good. They just give you a lot of bonuses. Like, a lot of bonuses. Like, look, my health is barely even getting struck by these guys, and I can rip apart through them now. Generally, you'll hit, like, high points like this, and then, like, the next, let's say, next act. Like, I'm hoping to get to Egypt and pretty much quarter or mainly do most of Egypt in one go. Like, I was going to do a Friday stream, and then I realized, man, I do need to take a bit of a break, even though when I was playing Warframe, right, on my Thursday stream. Also, that was the same stream where I didn't fucking record anything because I was a fucking idiot. God damn it. And I gotta look at my time zone specifically where I am, too. That's another thing I want to update. Then a Twitter, and then a few other things. But like I said, this is kind of like a streaming journey as well. But it's also something I want to do long term, you know? Something I just want to groove out to, enjoy, you know, play, be excited about. Because before, when I was playing that Knights game, King Arthur's Tale, I was like, oh, I stream in 5 minutes. And then when I first started the stream, I was like a little lethargic, I was a little bored, and I was like, And now I'm in the stream playing Titan Quest and having a blast with it. I'm like, man, this has been great. It's like when you work out. When you first start working out, right? It's like, man, this feels like dreadful or awful. You've had like a long day work and everything. You don't want to lift heavy shit. You don't want to do anything. You just want to sit on the couch. But after like a few minutes, you're like, oh wow, this feels really good. Generally, it's like the endorphins coming in and saying, hey, this is actually a good time for you.
Hello.
Ooh. What does this armor look like? Wow, that looks really nice. Like an armor look, it looks really nice. Ooh, helmet with regeneration buffs. That'll help. That will tremendously help. Oh yeah, look at that regen. Oh yeah, that's good regen.
Shop again.
Alright, let's go. Etherean Passage. Where's that swamp with that enemy that I have to kill? I remember there's a swamp. I think I passed it maybe. Or did I already do that quest? Let me check. Yeah, Act 1 is incredibly long. So I haven't had any quests between here and there, so that's a little weird. Oh, more centaurs. I'm gonna kill the Elder first, because you can do that like area of insta-death if you're not careful. Let me check my inventory. It's getting full, but not that full. Okay. He's dead, he's dead, he's dead. Okay. Next things I'll start upgrading are my abilities, just because I am up to snuff now for certain things. So I want to get more powerful with my attack abilities and everything, just get them up there. Because that's what I'm going to need next, is just attack abilities. Just things to kill enemies as fast as possible. I don't want them to live longer than 10 seconds in combat, because I know I won't. So yeah, it's going to be generally the rule of thumb while I'm playing this, is just trying to be very efficient. Then again, it's not a lot of fun. Then again, I'm not really meta in this game, as in, like, I don't know, like, the best way to build weapon, like, the best way, it's like, oh, if you have a sword, you should do this, or if you use this class. I have no idea about any of that. I don't know the meta build of Titan Quest. I just play Titan Quest, and I fucking enjoy the shit out of playing Titan Quest. I love this game because it's Greek mythology, but every other mythology, and the gods have abandoned the world. Oh, sorry, left it in the reigns of the more capable mortals. Their words, fuckers. I hate the gods in this game because they're so pretentious. And obviously, if you're going to create a god, obviously they're going to be above mortals and all that, but they don't have to be so snooty where they're like, oh, we won't even help you fight one of our own pantheon going rogue. You're like, your own guy has essentially gone rogue, and you're not going to help the mortals he's tormenting. It's like, oh, it's not our job. I'm like, mate, you're literally the cause of this. And like, that's your opinion. I'm like, what? Yeah, this one. Yeah, so this is a duration like ability. Then I want to increase Earth Enchantment 2 more levels. And then I want Ring of Fire on. Yeah. Burn, baby, burn. Aw, yeah. Yeah, it seems like fire is going to be my present abilities, it seems. Fire and lightning. Hell yeah. Should become a fire starter. But yeah, like, back to my Deathmark conversation earlier. Deathmark is a very interesting game, and the series has created a lot of it. Like, it seems like a lot of the games and everything are set up for a greater story. And I kind of like that, the whole we're building something, so we're building, like, media around it to establish it. Instead of, like, having something that's really, like, really iconic, and then people build around it to explain certain things. I like more, it's like, your series already has in mind building a universe, not building a universe after something gets popular. Because the problem is that popular universe lives and dies on that new media, instead of the other one where it's like the core fundamental media that started it and built to it actually has a is like people are thinking about how to build, instead of people like, we're just gonna add this because it's fun or interesting, and not think about the consequences of adding something. And that does annoy me sometimes when people are like, this franchise IP or whatever is very popular with people, therefore we're just going to add more shit to it. I'm like, how about you start a new IP, new franchise, new ideas? It's like, no, just add more to it. And then you get inevitably contradictions, rewrites, and retcons. Some people are fine with certain retcons because they would make more sense when thought out. Other times people just get outright mad, which is fair, because it's something you're passionate about, right? And you're like, why the hell did you change this? It doesn't make any sense. And they're like, oh, this is our IP, we can do whatever we want, which is true, they can do whatever they want to it. Doesn't mean you have to buy from it anymore. And generally, that's normally the approach, where a lot of people are like, yep, this franchise is not my kind of thing anymore. I was a fan of it for a long time, I did enjoy it, but the people in charge of that franchise just sunk it with whatever they sunk it with, so I'm not interested anymore. Like, that happened with Halo, that happened with Warhammer, that happened with Star Wars, I think. Star Wars is a weird one because people keep saying it's like back to the norm of Star Wars, and then other people are like, oh, the original Star Wars wasn't that great, and then others are like, oh no, the original was great, and only the original was good. So it's a lot of ups and downs for a lot of series too. And sometimes I wonder if it's just the inevitable changing of the times. Like, you know how technology changes with the people that use it. If someone uses enough technology over time, it does eventually adapt and change for the newer times. So I'm wondering if that with media, where media is like that, where it does just inevitably change over time, where it just becomes more different or more tailor-made to the next generation, like a passing off of the torch. But the thing is, on how media and a lot of franchises are doing it, they're not really passing it off to anyone. They're just making it into slosh and garbage, and you're like, man, this is kind of shit. Then there's contention, and it's like, oh, is this actually bad media, or was the original franchise always this bad, or is it nostalgia? And I'm like, well, if it was just nostalgia, right, there wouldn't be people that still watch the original whatever it was. Let's say it's the original version of it, thing like that. Like, oh, they just watch it for the nostalgia. You're like, well, then why do they still keep making stuff of the original stuff, and that stuff sells? It's because, not only because it is nostalgia, but it's also people love that kind of fantasy, or that kind of thing in particular. Right? People love that kind of idea, no matter what it is. And they like, oh, this is, you know, this is a series of my childhood. And people will strongly grip to that, and that's nostalgia, generally, right? Is a strong feeling of the past and memories associated with that past, generally. That's why you have such strong emotions when it's something in your childhood getting destroyed. Or ravaged at this point, my god. Like, I can't name how many franchises I've seen, like, utterly destroyed and butchered. Like, Jesus. It reminds me of, there's a game I do want to play at stream at some point called Oblivion Override, where it has an interesting mechanic where every time you die, whenever you leave at the main base again, because everyone's robots in this game, you leave the main base and you start heading towards the dungeon again, you'll see your corpse or your previous attempt, like your body just strung up on this crane, and you can knock down your body to re-get your weapon, or like a piece of whatever you lost. It's not a guaranteed 1-to-1. You won't get like all your essentially passes from the run and everything, but you will get like something. So I think that's a nice little touch in that kind of game. But when I saw that the first time, when I saw like the body of your previous character's iteration attempt, and you just see them hanging there blowing in the wind, I'm like, man, this makes me feel like it happened to like every like thing I loved as a kid is now gone and destroyed and ravaged. I'm like, oh my god. So this is how it feels to have the thing you loved tremendously a lot just fucking destroyed in front of you. Feels sad, man. And I saw that in this game, in Oblivion Override. I'm like, man, that fucking is real. Very real. And it made me sad because it was like, yep, that's reality. Yep. Anything you were passionate about will inevitably become destroyed for whatever reason. And it's saddening, right? Like, you get passionate about, let's say, like movies, and you love movies, right? You love love watching movies. You love criticizing movies. You love watching movies with friends. Now it's like, well, you can't say that thing about that movie. Why? Oh, well, it's offensive. Or you can't say that about this movie because it exists and it is a message for the new generation. How dare you despise it or loathe it? I'm like, no, people should have the right to not like certain media. It's also it also gives you the same reason of like not having certain media being made because of certain individuals making it or something like that. But generally, I think anything should be able to be made as long as, you know, it's not breaking any laws. And even then, sometimes some things have to be made to break laws to show important things to people, like very important things. A lot of people don't like admitting that part, where I think sometimes laws will have to be broken regardless on your feelings towards them just to make a point. That's why things like protests exist and forbidden media and all that, you know, like some of the really horrifying shit and all that exists. Because someone had to make that media to get it banned. And it's the fine line idea of, you're on a very fine line, like very thin fine line, and you have to make sure you don't cross that line. Just because, you know, there's like stuff like snuff, right? You know, the whole torture porn and all that shit. Torture corn, sorry. That kind of stuff. Where it's interesting idea, as in like, well, not really interesting to be fair, it's just torture. It's not really an idea, it's a physical action, and torture has existed for as long as humanity has existed. And to be honest, it's surprisingly on how creative torture itself is. Well, more shocking to be fair, when people are like, we're a civilized species or whatever. And then you see the shit they came up with way back in the day, and you're like, were we though? Like, my god, there was some horrifying crap we made as a species for punishment. Like, oh my god. And everyone's like, oh, you know, that was a dark past, we would never do that, and we still do the exact same shit to this day. So I'm like, no, we still do it, it's just, we do it less now. Or it's less in the light as it is, instead of being in a museum. Yet. Oh, a life eater, yep. These guys are normally a tricky customer to deal with because they eat regen. There we go, he's dead. Alright, Spartan pussies, I got it.
You can't carry it.
He only injured them, he didn't kill them. I killed it. Victory for the hero. Yeah, I think I'm gonna portal back to,
We sent a scouting party, it seems.
yeah. I was wondering where these quests were. Because I thought I passed that swamp earlier. But it seems like I didn't on my last stream Titan quest. So it seems like I didn't pass it, which is good. Athens. Okay, so this is the Athens quest lines. Gotcha. And man, I don't know. It feels bad sometimes when you see something you were really passionate about die in front of you, and you're like, man, I can't have fun anymore. But it also gives me hope because that allows you, someone that was a fan of whatever creation it was, to create your own. I think that's a better part too. I think a lot of media will die, right? Like a lot of the things that we thought were great in our childhoods will inevitably killed by greed or the desire to make more of it, which inevitably ruins it, or various stuff like that. But I think it gives me hope to see other people willing to create new stuff from the old, right? Like, hey, this series has gone down the crapper or whatever, but here's this new series that is kind of like it, and it's made by the fans of that series instead of, you know, a massive company that is just built on greed or lies or whatever have you. And I think that's amazing. I think that is absolutely something we do need to do. Where, let's say, they ruin something that you truly enjoy as like a gamer or anything else. Well, if they ruin, like, say, your excitement for like a certain game, or they try to take away a game that you're really passionate about, make your own. You're like, oh, it's easy to say that, but how hard is it to do it? Tremendously hard, of course. Anything worth doing isn't tremendously hard to do. That's why it's worth doing. A lot of people, younger people, don't understand that quite yet. There's a reason why not a lot of younger people start businesses or start anything that lasts longer than 2 days or 2 weeks or 2 months or 2 years. They don't understand the value of something that lasts a long time. So when they can't value it, they just discard it. If it is not instant gratification, it gets immediately discarded, which is unfortunate. Don't get me wrong, like, there is a good thing of, oh, it's something I can hold in my hands at this moment and it's real. But sometimes things like success or progress or anything like that takes a long time to do. And a lot of people misunderstand that. It's not only just like the current generation, but other generations are like that too, to a certain degree. Not a lot of them were the wise old man on the mountaintop knowing change will happen, but it just takes a long, long time to have that change to occur. A lot of generations are like that, but I think the most modern generation feels that the most, where they feel that they're isolated, alienated, they have no choice, no future, no nothing. But at the same time, I think they have the greatest potential. To get this potential, however, you just need to work hard and create things your own way. If life stilts you one way, you find another. You know, the old expression, when God closes the door, a window opens, kind of thing. But instead of that, instead of thinking someone else will do it for you, you do it yourself. You open that window. You find a way to create that new norm or new idea or anything. Like, hey, like what I love seeing is I see a lot of people streaming these days. That's great. You know, they're trying to do something. But there's one thing from streaming than creating content. I think streaming is relatively easier than creating content. Let's say animations to deep analysis to like history events or theories or conspiracy theories or a whole bunch of other stuff. Like, there's a whole bunch of stuff people can create. And I think that's what we're lacking, just creative thinking and the know-how and the willingness. Like, if people were more willing to just do what they want to do as a passion, I think society would be better off for it. Because I think a lot of jobs are essentially just created for people to keep their time occupied, not really created to benefit society on a whole. And a lot of jobs are like, well, we want specific requirements instead of something that's passionate about it. So you get a bunch of people that are passionate about nothing, and they just don't care about doing the job or making it a career or anything else, so they stagnate. They have nothing to do, and they don't care about doing anything better, because they're like, I just work a 9 to 5, I don't give an F about any of this, and I don't care, and all that nonsense. But there's a point in your life where you do have to care about it, because it's your livelihood at this point. You have to care about it, and you have to make sure when you do stuff like that, you diversify it at the same time. Like, okay, I work a 9 to 5. What can you start doing? How about a side business, a side hustle? Oh, my workplace doesn't allow that. Okay, then do financing or do things like investments and all that. And then, oh, you know, let's say there's something else nonsensical about you can't do it for some reason.
Hail! You're there? If you see I'm through, tell them we're on our way.
I got a portal back to them. Anyway, you just have to have the motivation to start something. Even if it's small, even if you're moving that one pebble, let's say. You get that one follower, you get that $1 raise, you get that 2-cent raise, you get any kind of thing that shows progress, it will motivate you more and more to keep going. It's like lifting weight at the gym, right? You'll maybe barely even be able to lift to 60 pounds or 80 pounds or whatever your minimum is, right? You barely can lift like any of it. And then you start lifting more and more, and now you can lift 20 more pounds, 30 more pounds, 50 more pounds. You just have to keep working at it. And I can understand it's very hard sometimes because you're not seeing that progress immediately. You're only seeing little tidbits of it. You're only seeing maybe very little, and you're like, well, what's my sense of motivation to keep going? And then you stop.
You were in the swamp after the scouts get back.
And it demotivates you and just de-incentivizes you to keep going, building anything. The reason why some people are successful is because they have that drive to keep going. But they also are willing to innovate. You can have a drive endless and just keep going, plowing through recklessly, but it won't benefit you. Because inevitably there will be something that will stop you. The ability to adapt is one of your best things in your toolbox. The ability to say, okay, this isn't working, I have to figure a better solution. Instead of just doing the old way and hoping you'll fix it, or you inevitably get past it, you have to think of another solution. Don't get me wrong, there's some unsavory solutions you may or may not have to do for a certain success, but at the same time, if you want to succeed, sometimes you have to do something that you find is a little unorthodox or unsavory. Because you need to make sure you can be successful. So at the end of the day, there's only one you. And you have to make sure you're very successful and you're very willing to reach that success. Don't get me wrong, it's incredibly hard to do so, and the deck might be very stacked against you. But at the same time, it is your will that determines how far you can go, and how willing you are to go. Like I said, it's not spirit alone. Like one of my favorite quotes from See Destiny, it's not strength alone, nor will alone, when Kira gets the freedom for the first time. And I think that's very powerful. It's not just one aspect you need to focus on, it is multiple ones that support each other, which makes you successful. Don't get me wrong, success is one of the hardest things to gain too, and it's very easy to determine what success is and what success is not. For some people think if you own $1 million, 3 homes, and have a like smoking hot wife or partner or whatever, and have like 10 kids or whatever is the pinnacle of success. Other people are just content with having a, like, let's say a drink on a Saturday night with a few friends is success. The ability to even have a place, the ability to live on your own. So you must determine what your success is. My success is just being happy. But I always want to be always happy, but also to enjoy life. I don't want to wake up one day and go, oh, fuck this shit, I'm done. Right? I try to not have that perspective. Even though it's very easy to get that perspective with things that like grind you down or fucking destroy you and all that kind of stuff, right? It's very easy to get downtrodden because of things happen, right? Like where you're like, oh, no one else is like this, only I am. Why am I doing all the effort, blah, blah. But you have to realize your willingness to put in that effort will pay dividends. You just have to make sure you keep going. Get your head out of your own ass and just keep going. Showing perseverance and showing your willingness to keep going, a lot of people are naturally attracted to that. People are attracted to people that are just pushing forward, pushing forward, pushing forward, pushing forward. They're attracted to those that have the ability to do that and are unfazed by certain things, or hell, even like roadblocks that a lot of people would stop at and say, hey, this is a massive roadblock, what are we going to do? There are some people that will keep pushing. And I think that's what makes someone a qualified leader or have strength. Just the ability to keep fighting and going, and the willingness to keep going, I think is a tremendous skill. But the thing is, it's very hard to maintain, doubly hard to even do it right. Because it's very easy to be very determined and then be just brushed to the side going, oh yeah, this is one guy though, right? Very, very, very easy for that to happen. And I'm not saying spirit alone will get you far. You just have to be also willing. And just keep pushing forward. And it's very hard because it's very de-incentivizing when you go, oh, well, I just worked X amount of hours, or I just did all this weightlifting and I feel exhausted as hell, I feel all sweaty or something, and I don't feel like I accomplished anything. But there's other times where you're like, man, I felt like I accomplished a lot. And keeping that feeling alive, the whole idea I felt like I've done a lot, is very hard to do if you're not doing that, let's say, exercise all the time, or doing it within respectable limits. Obviously, you're not going to do it every day because it is taxing and your body is a limitation, obviously. But at the same time, you just have to keep going. Sometimes it's very hard to do, and sometimes, like I was just talking earlier, where I was like, oh, I just wanted to keep playing that King Arthur game. But I wanted to stream as well because I wanted to play Titan Quest and have fun on a stream. So I was like, man, what am I going to do? I'm like, of course I'm going to play Titan Quest. Of course. Because I love Titan Quest. I love playing ARPGs and I love streaming. So I'm going to play Titan Quest. Oh, you have like no viewers or whatever. And I don't care about having 100 viewers, 100,000 viewers, or 1 viewer, or 1 follower, 10,000 followers. I care about having a good time with my game and what I love to play. It's like, oh, will you ever get bored of it? Of course I'll get bored. Of course there is a time when you'll run out of content. Of course there's going to be a time when, for example, the Tenno's journey will end. But I'll still be playing Warframe on stream. Like, the idea that I would just abandon something just because I couldn't uphold it is ridiculous, in my opinion. Like, for example, I may cut down, like, how many streams I do or increase them from time to time, depending on other situations around my current lifestyle or standards or whatever, or I feel unsatisfied with making certain content. But at the same time, I'm not just going to outright abandon it without a very good reason. That's what I find is interesting. A lot of people don't like talking about their personal lives, obviously, right? We want our right to privacy to a certain degree, which I think is very fair. And I mean very fair. I think the right to have your private life and your, let's say, online persona or internet persona or any of those drastic and exciting things people call it these days is fair. Because I think people should be able to act one way in one way and then be able another. Is that disingenuous? Yeah, of course it is. Because you're hiding your true self behind anonymity, for example. And some people have to, because sometimes, you know, people have unsavory opinions they keep in private compared to their online stuff. And of course people are going to have unsavory opinions. Everyone does. That's what makes our species so interesting. We have the ability to have disagreements. We have the ability to understand one another, but also fight each other. We have to have this for a society to function. Without it functioning, not only does society no longer function, it fundamentally breaks down. Which sucks for a few reasons. Like, for example, a lot of people actually survive on modern society. Without a modern society, everyone dies. Or a vast majority of people will die. Because we need modern amenities to survive. We're taught, like, way back in the day, our ancestors were resources weren't plentiful, where you had to hunt for your own food, where you had to find, survive, build shelter for yourself. And a lot of modern amenities, like the ability to even build a home or even own land. Like, the land wouldn't be an issue, to be fair. That would not be an issue, to be fair. Because there'd be plenty of land, not a lot of people have it, but that's off course. What I'm trying to get at is, if you have a dream and you're willing to fulfill it, you just have to figure out from the basics. Even if you do a Google search. Like, for example, I love writing, and I know I'll never become a writer. I know that because the first time I tried to write a book, I wrote around 7 to 8 chapters, and then I realized I had no end goal on where the story would go. I realized I didn't storyboard it. I didn't think of the whole plot. I didn't think of the summary. I didn't think of the characters. I was just writing for the sake of writing what I thought was an interesting topic. A writer needs to plan on how they do things. Like, a strategist must plan the battle before the battle occurs. That kind of stuff. But that's why I'll never be a true writer. Someone that can write stories to regale people. I can write I can write plot points, I can write short stories with payoffs, right? If I would ever write anything, I'd probably write an anthology of just a bunch of stories I thought were interesting premises, but I couldn't really go anywhere for I just lack the talent or I don't have the ability to. It's not me giving up on my dreams, it's just me realizing I lack the capability. I know I lack the capability, but I still write all the time. Like, my keyboard can complain that I use it a little too much. That's why I also do use a controller as well. My keyboard's a little old. It's an old Razer keyboard. It's old. It's old. I got it back in the time when, you know, clicky keyboards and everything were interesting and new, and my brother's like, you gotta get the clicky keyboard. I'm like, why don't I just get the Staples one or whatever, you know, the crappy office ones. He's like, no, you gotta get this fancy expensive one. I'm like, okay, whatever, I'll get the fancy expensive one, and I got it, and I don't regret getting it. I regret getting a Razer though. I had some return issues with them. I try to return something, they're like, oh, you have to do all this, and well, we might do this, oh, you know, can you verify the problem 10 times over? And I was just so sick and tired of it. One of the mice I had for them just broke one day. It couldn't drag and click anymore. The click would let go. And I was like, I had the ability to return it and everything. I had a 2-year return policy on it and all that. Tried to do the policy and they just gave me the runaround. I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. Like I said, there are certain things that will really kill your motivation to do certain things. Like, for example, I still write occasionally, right? Like, back to my writing stories. I love writing. I love writing characters, and, like, I have long walks to work every day. It's like an hour 45 or whatever to get to work, and then 45 minutes to go home. So it's a long trip, right? Like, a long walk. It's like 7 kilometers or something. It's long. 7 kilometers, 7 miles or something. Something like that. Anyway, they're just really long walks, so I think of characters, I think of designs, I think of everything. And hell, I even drew some of my designs, some of my early mecha designs too. I thought they were really interesting. And I thought they were really cool, because I am a mecha head. I love mechs, I love machines, I love machinery. That's why my whole character for my stream is a machine and a graveyard. I'm interested in the idea of a machine graveyard, so machine and graveyard. Hence, the evil, sinister-looking evil machine icon, but also a graveyard as like my BRB screen, and being a chillax thing, because graveyards, if you've ever been in a few of them, they're very somber, very final, they're very smooth and unsettling, but also calming at the same time. And I don't want to pervade that in my streams and in my content, where it's a kind of a calming thing, kind of an interesting to watch. It's kind of like, oh, hey, I know that guy, or hey, this is interesting, and all that. Call it cringe if you wish. That's up to you. That's why I make it very minimalistic. I make it very easy to read. You see what I'm playing. I explain how I'm playing it. Why am I playing it this way? It might be boring or complicated or overdrawn or whatever have you. But at the same time, it allows people to just go, okay, he's playing this game, he's doing this, he's doing that. It is easy to understand what I'm doing. Instead of having a screen just filled with a bunch of stuff, it's very hard to read and see and watch. It's just something, it's just a game on screen and a voice. And of course, some background music, of course. You gotta love it. Right? And that's the thing, I want it to be like a place people can go to and just relax their woes and just come and talk. Conversation, things that we all need in our lives, you know? A hangout spot where not a lot of us can go to anymore. Just a hangout spot we can all enjoy. Just something we can do, you know? The older you get, the less hangout spots you get these days, you know? And that's the sad thing, too. The less time you can hang out with your friends, or your bros, or your girlfriend, or your wife, you just lose the ability to just chillax, hang out, watch a movie or two, or watch a stream. Something like that. You lose the ability to fundamentally do all that stuff. As you become older, you lose the ability to do a lot of things. So I want to make something that people can just relax to, people can enjoy. And I want the ability to share what I enjoy as well with others. I enjoy ARPGs. I especially enjoy like things like Titan Quest. You don't get the admiration for a game like this until you play it a few times. Call it Stockholm Syndrome if you wish, but it's a game I can see myself falling back into all the time, just relaxing and playing and oh, it gives me a feeling of such having a good time, you know? Such a good time. Like Warframe. I love Warframe. Fundamental game. Love it. Love it to pieces. It is a great game.
It's you.
Don't worry, Leonidas. I didn't get mauled by all the things around here. We're good. And that's why I love games like this. It's just games to relax to, games to play, games to have fun with. I find that a lot of people these days are lacking having fun or having hope or so many things that way back in the day people could have easily by just fulfilling their lives with things we could touch or even handle, right? But how many times can people say I have a long, hard work day and go, I feel tremendously fulfilled? Very rarely, right? Hell, it's practically unheard of these days. Which is a damn shame, because people used to be very fond of their workplaces, be very fond and passionate about it. What I'm hoping to do more and more, if I ever grow past 1 follower, looking at you, mate. Great conversation for that Warframe stream. Love you, bro. And I want people to be like, this is a stream I love watching. It might be not the best stream, it might not be the most interesting stream, but it's a stream I can watch and enjoy and have a fun time, and that's what I want to do. Obviously, people are going to be like, oh, this isn't the real world, but I'm like, of course it isn't. Reality never the virtual world never reflects reality. It's something people have to really learn really quickly. Red dye, hunter, burgundy, gray. I like the Egyptian one. The Egyptian one looks really nice. Yeah, there we go. And I just want a good time, you know, just have an amazing time, a fantastic time. Obviously, a lot of people are going to be like, why are you optimistic about anything? Everything sucks. I'm like, yeah, things suck, sure, but things suck, get better or worse, and then we adapt to survive. Generally, that's what happens. Of course, things are going to be miserable for a while, and they might never fix as what we think they would, right? When things don't go your way, you don't just shut down and just refuse reality. You figure a way to turn it around. You figure a way to make it your own. You figure a way to give yourself advantage. Or hell, even not even advantage. Let's just say you just want to have a good time with something. You figure out something that is close to something you like, and then you adapt it to that. I don't like romance novels and everything, but I could still probably write a romance or two. It's not too difficult. It's one of those things where you just need the will to do it, and just a little bit of know-how, and you can create amazing things. Like, I mean amazing. Like, things that you thought were like really hard to do or impossible to do, you could do quite easily with just a bit of know-how and a bit of willingness. And I know this sounds like the whole, you have the power in yourself to do anything, you just have to keep going. But generally, it's as simple as that. And a lot of people psych themselves out, going, "Oh my God, it's so daunting!" and like, look at this and look at that, and I need like $10,000 and everything else. And I'm like, yeah, there might be a high entry point for a few things, and certainly things aren't going to be easy for a while. Don't get me wrong, but at the same time, if everything was easy, why isn't everyone doing it? It is because of that challenge, that inevitable woe and interest, that fascination, that wanderlust that we have as a species is what keeps us going. That whole, we have to explore the next corner of the world. We have to, because remember, way back in the day, people thought the world was flat. No one knew it was a circle, and people still thought they would fall off the edge. But there were still those people that are like, I believe the world is not flat, and I'm going to tell you how. And I'm going to find either the edge or prove you wrong, and there's more things around than that edge. There's been things like that for centuries. I think ever since our beginning of our species has been like that, where we know certain things, like we have certain concepts, but we're not willing to disprove them. We're only willing to follow them. We're not willing to go against the grain, only with it. And the people that go against that grain fundamentally become like champions or heroes or leaders because they were willing above everyone else to go, hey, something doesn't seem right, something weird is going on, and I'm going to find out. A lot to their detriment, mind you. A lot of great people that were like, let's say, great leaders, or those that were in parts of strife or massive times where there were times where, oh, this is the labyrinth, right? Yep, the Athenian catacombs. And there were times where people were uncertain about things, and they still kept going, even at the detriment of themselves, to be fair. There's been a lot of people that were very famously realized that they would either die or lose a lot if they followed what their ambitions were, and they still did it anyway. And that's what makes people strong. That's what makes them interesting. That's why people will still watch like utter crap shows of like certain countries, or people will watch it burn because it's an interesting thing to burn. It always reminds you like it is like what was, I can't remember what the name was, but essentially you don't yell help for like someone to help you, you yell fire, because people have a desire to watch something interesting than someone that needs help. Because someone needs help means you might endanger yourself. When you watch a fire, you're just watching something burn, something passive. Very interesting, sure, and helpful in niche situations where you do need help. Let's say you're getting, someone's running after you or something else. You don't say, help, there's a stalker. You say, fire, fire, and everyone reacts a lot more differently, which is very interesting. And that's what I find is fascinating about a lot of things. Like I said, this is going to be a long stream. It's my scraplets, so get ready. Get your butts ready, because it's going to be a long one. I got a lot of shit to talk about, and I love talking, so. And it's not going to be all about the game, unfortunately. But, fortunately, I am quite a fuck, what's the word? Also, yeah, there's a glitch where the wall will just appear like that, which is hilarious. But the stairs do still exist, like you can go up them, which is pretty funny. More Gorgon women, yep. Because this act ends when you go onto an island, and I haven't reached that island yet. But first, I think I'm going to have to pause. I'm going to be right back. Just have to grab something from the kitchen. So I think I'm going to start my drinking. It is 9 o'clock where I am. And I think that's the reasonable time to start, consuming alcohol and everything. So I'll be back in like 2 to 3 minutes. I have some stuff to do in the kitchen, wash some dishes and do some other tidying. So I'll be back 10-15 minutes. Don't worry. The stream's not going to end when I'm gone. I'm going to just switch to my BRB. Like that. Perfect. See, transition. I am learning as a streamer. And I'm just going to pause Titan Quest so I don't get murder ganked. And I'll be back 3 minutes or so just to grab some stuff, grab a refreshing beverage, a few other small things, and I'll be right back. So this is DRM. I'll be right back in like 3 to 5 minutes. Alright, this is DRM, and I am back. Scraplets. Alright. More Titan Quest bashing, more gods to kill, and more myths to smash. Let's go. Alright, stream is up. Everything looks good. How are my viewers this evening? I doubt I have a lot. Oh no, I have a few. Nice. Nice, nice. Nice. I doubt they're all current viewers, but hey. Welcome to the stream. This is DRM. I'm quite a bit of a chatter myself, so we got work to do. Lots of work. So, let's get to work. Grab the lemonade from the fridge. Oh, mate, you're back. Hey, man, what's up? I can't go 1AK, what's up? Oh, man, that's a bitter one. Whew. How you doing, man? I haven't seen you since my, last few Warframe streams. How you been? Oh. Just doing a bit of Titan Quest this evening. Probably gonna be a long stream. You can just drop by, mate. Don't worry about it. Next Warframe will probably be on Tuesday. But I might change it. My Warframe, I've gotten nearly Necromech. Need to get level 4 in Trotty, and then I'm done. My Thursday stream was a very poor showing, I have to say. Not that good. Not that good, but I tried. Also, I was buttfuck tired from work. Oh. I haven't seen you streaming, probably not same time zones. Yeah, I think I'm Eastern Standard Time, I think. Then again, I think my Twitch schedule... No, would it? Oh my god. Like I said, I'm still a new streamer, mate, so I don't know how it works. That's the other thing, too. I gotta have to change my YouTube at some point. I still haven't done it, because I've been ass fuck tired. Oh my god, I've been exhausted. Are you a Brit by chance? I only know, Brits and some people from the East have that kind of time right now. They used to play with a lot of Brit players, and they're like, oh, it's 4 or 5 in the morning at this time. I'm like, yeah, that seems about right. Ugh. Oh my god. Yeah. It happens. Ah, Iraq. Yeah, Middle East. That would make more sense. And again, yeah, it's funny. You never think on the international scale you are streaming to, right? You're technically streaming worldwide, right? And you never think about that. You only think, oh, I live in X country and I only stream for X country. Then you realize probably the people from your country don't even know you exist as a streamer. Which is a good and a bad thing, to be fair. You don't have the infamy or popularity. Because imagine if you were a popular streamer, my god, would it be hard to go anywhere. It's like a celebrity, right? You'd have no ability to go anywhere. Oh, it would be awful. Oh. That's good lemonade. Oh. But no, my Saturday streams are generally what I'm doing going forward will be ARPGs, Titan Quest, Diablo 2, stuff like that, where it'll be more ARPGs. Those are more my bread and butter, but I know there's a ton of people that do ARPGs. A lot. Was I not supposed to go down to the arc? No, I'm supposed to. Let's go down here. And I know a lot of people because there's so many people that do deep dives ARPGs and they get very samey, it's just insta-kill everything and all that. But at the same time, I prefer to stream them because I think they're very interesting of games, right? There's a lot of ARPGs that are done poorly. There's very few that are done well. And done well is subjective as all hell, unfortunately. Which sucks, because ARPGs are such an interesting genre of game. Because there's so much different variants you can do. Like, one of the ones I do like playing, which I may play eventually, is 40k Inquisitor. That one's fun. A little dumb fun, but it's fun nonetheless, right? And there's some other games that are amazing as well to play. Last Epoch's a good one. Diablo's pretty good. The original, too. I mean, like, the ones from, like, I think 1990... Was it 1996? And... No, I think the original Diablo was 1998, I'm pretty sure. And then Diablo 2 was... Oh, Jesus, Burning Revenants. This is not good. I am fire-based, and they are also fire... Oh, there we go. Not a problem. What a good time. So, man, how you been since the last stream? Hope you're doing good, doing well. And I hope everything's alright with you, mate. It's been a while. Probably been busy, you know, with life stuff, you know. Same here. Always got life still. Always got... Uh-oh. I'm nearly dead. Shit. Run, run, run. Health. My abilities are still active. Good. Sacred Rage kicks in. Yeah. But like I said, life I think has been pretty good so far, you know? Just relaxing a little, you know? Just chilling, you know? Gotta do that every once in a while, right? If you run on the treadmill forever, you're gonna exhaust yourself out eventually, so... I've been just trying to cut back a little, you know? Life gets hard sometimes, and, you know, stuff like this is stuff I really like to do, just to chillax with, you know? That's the cool thing about this kind of stuff, you know? It's relaxing, I find anyway, and it's just fun. Like, incredibly fun. Also, I do not like those inventory notifications. At least the Wraith stuff is okay for spellcasters. Someone in WR saying... WR? I just saw someone in Warframe saying low relic.
You have no more
Some people.
You can't hold anymore.
Ugh.
Mysterious warrior, thank you, young warrior. We must act quickly.
Alright, sundials. Yep, let's go through. Alright, Fountain of Rebirth. Athenian Docks. Just saw someone saying LF. Oh, low farm. 4 out of 4. What the fuck? My best guess is they might be grinding Protea. Probably, because Protea Prime just came out, so a lot of people are probably trying to grind her up. Then again, I can barely read Warframe chat sometimes. I swear it's a language on its own. What the? My desktop audio just cut out. What the hell? What the hell? Oh, there we go. Right, since the game audio is so low, it's only the music audio coming through. Right. Yeah, but no, like, you should see the new drops you can get in Warframe right now. You know, Protea, Prime, and all that. I still haven't gotten her yet in my main account. Or her weapons. But I'm not interested in dual-wielding size and that okay SMG pistol. I'm pretty sure it's an SMG pistol. The Vexlock. I'm pretty sure, but I'm not really interested in getting either of those. Also, I'm not interested in getting primes on the streaming account because for my stream, I think it's a little cheating to use primes. Because I'm like, come on, primes are... Yeah. You either get really lucky with primes or you get really unlucky. But back to my original conversation, I don't like using primes, especially with trying to do the game from scratch again. Because it seems very, how do you say, a leg up on the competition, or very, oh, you know, you get an immediate really good go-ahead, right? I'm like, no, I don't want that. I want it to be To be fair, you could argue Umbra's like that, where he's like a really big leg up, but the story gives you Umbra. The story gives you the Natterak. The story gives you the Grimoire as a progression in your journey of the Tenno, right? It's a progression getting weapons and armor and stuff like that in any other RPG. So generally that's how I justify that when I get stuff like that. It took us 40 relics to get her systems. Yeah, her systems is the Lith one, right? Yeah, that sounds about right.
Welcome, stranger. There's a city soul.
That sounds about right.
The beasts have claws and teeth, but you have fire.
Do you know about how to farm relics efficiently? You just go to Haspet in the Void. You know about that? For getting her relics fast, or any new Prime stuff. And I go and see a random stream to get in for relics. Yeah. Huh. What's the streamer's name? Huh. Regen, defense, health, and strength. Yeah. Better to have that than a shitty regen. Hmm.
Come again. Once, will I did not believe
Undead
that
Tyrant. Not the systems, though. Oh, I mean, he got very efficient. Well, that's just luck, right? That's just luck. I don't think that's efficiency. That's just being lucky. Then again, you could argue what's better, being lucky or being just very efficient. I'd say being lucky. Actually, it's funny. I actually had a debate with that with one of my old employers. We were just shooting shit one time, and he asked, he pretty much said it's better to have a bit of luck on your side than being very incredibly skilled. And I pretty much said to him, if you have enough skill, you won't need luck. But at the time, I was young enough to... Yeah. I prefer skill than luck, but I realized later on in life, everything is really luck-based, as in, like, even your day-to-day life relies a lot more on luck than skill. Regardless on if you think skill is a factor in certain things. It's luck that normally prevails. I guess it's the error of youth, I suppose. I thought I was smart enough at the time to know, oh, you know, everything's just skill-based. Like, no. A lot of it's luck-based. And it absolutely sucks, because you'll be given the short end of the stick a lot more time than you'll get the part of the stick you want. But I think it's also the ability to turn around your unluckiness into it. It really depends. Yeah, I know. It is brutal sometimes, mate. Oh. But at other times, you know, it could be refreshing too, you know. Sometimes having something disadvantaged allows you to innovate and think better, you know. Think differently, I suppose. Gives you the ability to go, okay, this isn't good, but this is better, though. And stuff like that, right? I think it's that ability to think outside the box that makes us, you know? The whole non-conformist idea of thinking, you know? Adapt, innovate, survive, all that. Thrive is the last one, of course. Oh, Minotaur. Nice, he dies. But no. It's been a good time. Very good time so far, actually. Around an hour and a half in, I suppose, or right about. Generally what I do when I'm like having a bad farm, generally sometimes it does help if you just back out and back in again, or you can do other content in the meantime. Like, for example, my more efficient way on how I do relic cracking, I normally just do the relics with people, and I don't run the relic myself, and generally just by playing the relic I will get it. And if that's not the case, I generally try to break it up. Let's say I do 4 runs and I just don't get anything that I want. I go back to either getting more relics, or I go back doing other content. Like, for example, I'll run a Deviri run. And generally that I normally find that does help instead of like grinding constantly the same mission and feeling bored as hell. I generally find just switching to different content, like I go to Fortuna for an hour, or I go to Cetus, which I hate going to Cetus, or other places like that. I find that does help the tedium of Warframe sometimes. The thing is, we were farming, my friend was streaming, but then he... That would do it, yeah. Is there a cave or something? Here. I don't know, if you're in a squad with your friends or mates, why don't you just run them like a Deviri run or something? You know, just something to refresh before doing more relic grinding again. Because relic grinding is a tedious part of Warframe, and it does fucking kill your soul. Like, it will kill your motivation to play quick. Just like how Relic Farm will get you killed really quick. You're just like, oh, I don't want to farm another 30 liths again. That happened to me sometimes. What I generally do is I try to listen to something in the background. If you can't listen to something in the background with your mates, generally what I do is I just try to, you know, do other content with them just to get them like playing with me. Because I can understand that too. Like, for example, I remember doing that with Zariman a lot, where I would play a lot of Zariman, and I would get sick and tired of the damn thing. I'm tired because he saw the trailer and says out, and then starts dropping after 2 hours. Some BS. Yeah, you don't have to tell me, mate. I remember getting Gauss Prime, and holy hell was he a fucking journey. Oh my god. On like getting Gauss Prime on my other file, and I don't even use Gauss, so I had to get the original Gauss and then the new one, right? So I got... It's funny, the Warframes that are unpopular I find from Relics, like Grendel Prime was easy to get, like fucking easy to get. I had to spend no effort at all get him. And then like things like Gauss, Protea, the ones that are popular are harder to get. I don't know why. It might be a psychological thing, but I swear to God, every time I try to get it, it just never turns out well for the more popular Warframes. Because people like using Gauss. People love that running Warframe. People love Protea. But those are too hard to get. No one really likes Grendel. And Grendel was easy as hell to get. I mean, easy. So it's... And also Wisp. Wisp was hard to get too, I find, for like the primes. Hildron I thought was pretty easy to get. So I think it's more... I'm wondering if it's more of a psychological thing when I think about it. Sometimes. Right? But other times it seems like it does follow a pattern. The more popular Warframes like Protea are harder to get. And the ones that are less popular are easier to get. Like Grendel or... Man, if I could just zoom in a prime... Yeah, it sucks you can't assume primes though, unfortunately. You have to get the original Grendel, and that's beacons and arbitrations. Oh, arbitrations. What a way to play the game. I can't tell you how many times I've had failed arbitrations because some guy was walking in with like one of his crappiest frames and builds. I'm like, man, dude, we're doing high level content here. You walk in with your garbage C set gear and everything. Like, come on, could you at least wear something B or higher? Something just a little stronger to survive. And then he goes down and you're like, man, now I gotta spend all this time and resources and everything else to get your ass back up again. Because you can't do it like how you do normal revives, right? You have to get the tokens, you have to kill the certain arbitration drones for them to drop the tokens. Tokens weaken you like Index. And if you're already playing not a strong Warframe and you get weakened, and it's always the host. Ugh. You've noticed that too, huh? Yeah, no one likes playing durability Warframes either, like really durable Warframes, I find. Everyone likes playing casters or ones that are just really strong on paper but can get one shot and ozoned if you're not careful. I see people play a lot of glass cannons, which is fair. You know, glass cannons are good if you want to wipe the field, but if you can't wipe the field and then you get one shot by the field, it's kind of pointless. Also, it does ruin the fun as well. It ruins the fun tremendously when it's just like, oh yeah, everyone's in the squad, right? Oh, you got one shot again. It is the longest sigh I've ever heard before, sometimes like that, where everyone's like, all right, it's an arbitration. We're going to be here an hour long, boys. Sit in. Leader, I'm going to move ahead a little bit. 10 seconds later, dies immediately. And you're like, the fuck, man? Adaptation. Do you have a lot of Archon crystals? Because that could help. Archon crystals, sorry. Archon crystals. Those could help if you get a few Tau Forged. But if you're like Legend 2, you should probably have a ton of that crap, eh? Come on. Blue. There's a guide Bronzomite did. Essentially, he essentially made a guide where telling like what's the recommended armor spec for each warframe, like how many crystals you should put in them for armor. If I remember, I have 2 greens and 1 red on her right now. I would say fill the other 2 with blue armor, because the armor will at least allow damage mitigation, and you don't have to focus mob slots on any armor if you don't already, which is okay. Green is good because, you know, you're already doing toxic procs, plus it's not viral she does, right? I think she's only toxic procs, right, for her abilities. Or was Miasma also viral? I think Miasma's also viral. Pretty sure. You probably have your red as either duration or strength, which isn't bad. What would be a... Because if you give her 2 blues just to increase her armor value, because I can't remember what Saren's basic armor value is, but it's pretty darn low. And armor does have generally diminishing returns. No, it's toxic for weapons and corrosion for infecting. Right, they changed that at some point, because I remember it was viral at one point. Yes, okay, it's corrosion. Okay, that's good to know. I generally haven't used Saren in ages, because, as you pointed out earlier, she's a glass cannon, and massive glass cannon. I'm more of the general tanky warframe that just generally helps everyone else survive, and I'm essentially our reser. If anyone needs to be rezzed, I'm the one on res duty. When I play with, like, my brother and a few of our friends, I essentially res our team, because I'm the only one that plays a super durable warframe built to die, and not to die. Yeah, infected, because that's Toxic Lash, right? Toxic Lash creates infection, toxic procs. Yeah, so I think having another, just actually, if you have already 315, just do 1 armor. What do you call it? 1 blue on her. Tau Forge would be preferred if you don't have that. I understand a lot of people don't have a lot of Tau Forges for very good reasons. But if you have a Tau Forge, that would be preferred. If not, I would recommend just a regular blue. Give her that 150. It will help. And the other one I would recommend, if you had another blue, you could give her a regen, because that is kind of nice to have if enemies don't chunk your health immediately. I know high level content, they do chunk you pretty easily. And I mean very easily. So I'd say probably 1 blue and maybe another red if you're using red for power. Because you may want to go as strong as possible with your 4 as much as possible. You know, her Miasma, just to hit and to kill fast. Then you probably want to use... I'll do 1 Tau Forge and 1 normal. That should help. Should. The problem thing with Saren is you'll find yourself still really squishy. You probably have adaptation on her, right? The mod adaptation, you know, the 90% resist shit and all that.
Aha! Yes. I'll be on my way to town as soon as I catch my breath.
It's very good enough alone. Oh, I assumed her 4. Okay, I see. So you're not going to do a nuke build. Okay. You're using her spores, right? Yeah. That probably makes more sense. Because there's so many ways to play Saren, and I remember hearing ages ago where everyone's like, oh, you play her as a nuke more than anything else. What did you assume her for then? That's what I'm more curious about. Did you do Gloom? Because Gloom isn't bad. Or did you do Roar from Rhino? Yeah, that was the third option, was Ellipse, yeah. Yeah, I was thinking that. There's like 3 options. There's Gloom, Ellipse, and Roar. So you went with the damage mitigation / increased damage. Okay. Because Ellipse does in Shadow you do less, you take less damage, and in Light you do more damage. Which is fair, it's a offense defense kind of thing, which is nice. Toxic Lash you would use, what's her 2 again? Oh, Malt, yep, that would be very useful for just being able to stay alive and everything. That would be pretty good. Because Malt is her 3, her 2 is Toxic Lash. Of course they did. God damn it. I remember Malt was her survivability option, was use Malt to keep yourself alive, generally. Maybe another thing you could use would be Augur mods. You know, the ones that are, every time you use an ability, it gives you shield back? It might be pertinent just to have that so you can keep shield gating. That might help? Maybe. It's now a tap, whole kind of thing in the damage. That's 9. Yeah, Saren. Why Saren of all Warframes to start using for high level content, though? Because are you trying to be in like an instant nuke, or what's your plan there? If your plan is trying to be an instant nuke, then wouldn't it be better to use something like you don't need Light and Shadow. Oh, I got you for Ellipse. Oh, okay. Alright, yeah, because I'm pretty sure it wasn't the thing where it's like everyone was using Ellipse because it did that, where it's like it gave you really good durability and shit. Yeah. Right. It's one of those things, I never look at the popular subsume abilities because I never really use them. Because I would just use Gloom, because it just slows enemies down. It's really good too, because they are really slowed down. Because if you have like high enough ability strength, it does really slow people down, which is good. Extra toxin armor stripping with corrosion would be nice while infecting everyone. Okay. Ooh, Storm Strike, another one. Because I'm guessing you run with a team like you said earlier, right? Are you trying to be the DPS of the team, or are you trying to just be like a very good independent kind of like solo player kind of thing? Because if your like friend could just be like a Sutrine or something, like they keep you alive and you essentially kill everything, or what's the dynamic there?
Welcome.
Because that would be one of the things, right? This band will be replaced. There we go, more intelligence. Mm. Oh, like Steel Path, kind of like Endless Survival stuff, you mean? Or like Deep Archimedean, are you thinking? Because if you're going like Deep Archimedean, you may have to be more flexible with your Warframe. If you try that stuff. I'm trying to make this level. She has right now, yep. You can tab over to her and it will say how much damage mitigation it's doing. Which should be pretty decent. Okay, let's see here. As in, you're gonna just stop playing Warframe completely until you finish school, eh? Yeah, not a bad boost. Like, for example, it really drops off for that kind of stuff, for damage mitigation. Like, for example, my Valkyr, she has 2028 armor, and her mitigation's like 89 or like 87. And then I got a boost from the Helmuth injector you can get, where every week you get like 3 Warframes that can get a boost. One of them was give Valkyr an extra 1,000 armor and more crit damage on melee. So obviously I injected her, right? It only went up 3 percentage points. So there is a high fall off with this kind of stuff. That's why it's normally recommended only putting 1 or 2 in. Just because there is such a high fall off with damage durability, with DR. With damage mitigation stuff. There's a massive fall off. Like right now, that boost you just got was probably the best you're gonna get, unless you went really crazy with it, and even then going crazy with it falls off dramatically, and I mean dramatically. Stormstrike again? So much for a legendary bow. But no, you'll probably retire from Warframe for a little bit, and then it'll come calling back. Trust me on that. I retired it from like a few years ago when I got busy in life, and it called me back in, you know? It's always the one more job to do kind of thing, you know? Yo, good luck, man. I wish you luck on that. Tell me if my feedback actually helped or not. I'm pretty sure it should, but it depends on how ridiculous you're going, you know? But like I said, you'll probably leave Warframe for a few years, and then you'll come back, and you're like, what's new? And then you're like, everything has changed once again. And that's the fun, disappointing thing and interesting thing about Warframe all at the same time. A lot of things change, a lot of things remain the same, and a lot of things, and I mean a lot of things, get weird. Because I remember a lot of times in Warframe where things got really fucking bizarre. For like how things would work, and then they'd fix it, and then unfix it, and then fix it again. Like there's been so many weird update patches before I've seen, or I've heard of anyway. But that's the thing, it's one of those things where it's like, you'll play for a while, get bored of it. That's one of the reasons I was doing the Tenos Journey, because I was like, Warframe is a game that is easily understood. Well, okay, not easily understood, to be fair. It is easy to master, but it's also really easy to fuck up. Oh my god, is it easy to fuck things up in Warframe. Oh, Jesus. Oh my god. And that's the great thing about Warframe and the Warframe community as a whole. It's the thing that makes it amazing as a video game, as a franchise, or even as an idea. It's fucking insane. A game so bizarre and yet so intriguing at the same time. It is amazing. Oh, the Minotaurian Labyrinth. Ah, the famous labyrinth from Greek myth. But no, man, I hope it goes good for you, eh? And hopefully your last year of school goes pretty good, too. Just try to relax, though, and pace yourself. I know how stressful that kind of shit can be, and sometimes you do have to pace yourself. Even though you feel like going full throttle, just ease back on the throttle sometimes, you know? Enjoy a drink with friends or a good conversation. Just learn to know when to pull back. That's all, man. You just need to know, pull back, focus, and just think. Sometimes that's the best way to get past your problems. And I hope you're the best, alright? This little streamer down south, wherever you are, or wherever I am, I hope you just do the best and the best you can, mate. Alright, back to tearing these things. It do be stressful. That's life, though. It's fascinating, stressful, and a goddamn hardship. But that's what makes it fucking fun. And a bloody good time. That's what makes it a very good bloody time. Ugh. But you do well, you hear? Just do well and keep going. Some days you don't want to do it, and some days you really don't want to fucking even roll out of bed. Hell. But sometimes you just gotta do what you do. Pushing forward. That's all. Sometimes. Other times you can just kind of fuck around a little, you know? Make life a little interesting from time to time. It's on how you see the world and how you do it. That's what makes people amazing. On how we do things and how we think. Our ability to think is what makes us very unique. Remember that. Oh, my backs. Oh. Good lord. My right shoulder's been acting up lately. Fuck. Should have been doing all that heavy lifting earlier. Oh, goddamn. But no, that's just life, mate. And the good thing is just to relax from it, you know? That's a good beer. Perfection. Or lemonade, sorry. But now, hopefully, my next few streams will be getting that damn fish finally, finishing it off. I do be getting deleted by level 60. Wow. Jesus. Still? Jesus. You have adaptation and everything, right?
Can't hold anymore.
God damn. I do, but getting deleted by 160 still? So at least that damage reduction and adaptation, you should be at least be able to take a bit of hit. It's interesting. So you're getting deleted by those guys at 160. If you have adaptation, Moat... No, she's incredibly glass cannon. I think that's how she was built from the start. I heard her what is it called? Her mod augmentation is supposed to be really good to keep yourself alive. But the problem is, it depends on how many mod slots you have and what you're running, right? If you have a reactor, so let's say you have 60, you have, trying to remember her polarity. I think it's the V1, which you can put Steel Charge on, which gives you another 18 polarity. So let's say you are working with a standard of 74. Let's say you put Umbral, Intensify, and Vitality as 2 of your mods. And then you put... What other ones could you put? Because generally when I do a mod build for non-tanky Warframes, I'll give them 2 Umbra mods, because you know how Umbra mods do stack with each other. So if you put like Fiber and Vitality together, you get a little bit higher bonus, and if you put all 3, you get a big bonus. But the problem is a lot of people aren't willing to spend an Umbra Forma on like a pet project, which is understandable, especially if is this more of like your pet project for your Saren, or is this going to be more like a long-term thing? Because it may be a good idea to look into using Umbra Forma and all that. But the problem is it generally is considered a waste. Or apparently I hear it's a pretty big waste to use Umbra Forma on anything, but I'm like, then what's the point of getting all this Umbra Forma then? Because you do get quite a bit later on. You can even build it for fuck's sakes too at some point. So I'm wondering if adaptation would help, but you probably have that as like an instant staple already on your Warframe. Another one would be I even formatted her to put the aura that gives regen shields when shields aren't active. Huh. And overshields aren't active. God, this is a fucking labyrinth, isn't it? I even formatted her to use the aura. Nah. Corrosion for armor strip, that would work. Now that is stumping me, actually. I can't figure out... Getting deleted by enemies... I'm guessing this is solo runs right now, right? For testing purposes and everything. You're not running with a squad. If you already have adaptation, you have 75% damage mitigation through armor. Your health bar is probably pretty low at 320 or 445 or something like that. You don't have that high health, which is fair. So generally I hear that's generally all you need for durability for a Warframe, but if you're already getting deleted by 160... Like I said, I have a Mag, which they are pretty similar stat lines, Mag and Saren. And she can generally survive 160 to 210 on Archon hunts, generally. But the thing is, I'm normally not in direct combat because I'm stunning the enemy or pulling them, and that generally prevents them from shooting. Or I'm using Gloom. Gloom is a pretty good recommendation, because not only does it slow the enemy, it does prevent them from shooting you. Or slows them to a certain degree, so Gloom would help. But if you have Ellipse, that's also pretty damn good. Or Eclipse, sorry, it's called. So that would help you tremendously anyway. So your helmet shouldn't really need to be changed. Roar could help, but Roar, I remember he was more like armor stripping shit, not really for damage. And you're probably armor stripping just fine. And generally they're going to be changing damage soon on how it works anyway with that new patch with Jade. So I'd say right now I would just recommend keep experimenting, like using all of the Umbra mods on them instead of using like maximum reach. Go with more, I guess you could go with more survival mods, but it's a diminishing return, right? If you put like Karis Canopus and all that, you know, the Daemos creature mods on you, which increase armor and health to a certain degree, you're losing another capacity to like do duration for spores, or you're losing the ability to reach with your spores, right? And generally you really want that reach because you really fucking need it to even affect like more than 2 people on the map, because the enemy distances are so far sometimes. Even with Toxic Lash and melee, decent melee weapons, you still need to be close. So I'm guessing what you're doing is you're using Toxic Lash and Spores, so you Spore Saw, Toxic Lash them to spread the spores even more, right? So you are getting in the face of enemies to, you know, hit them. But when you get in the face of the enemy, you probably need range. Range would be good, but it depends on how you're spreading the spores, right? If you're spreading the spores as I think you are with Toxic Lash and hitting the enemy to spread them, that might be an issue too. Because you have to be able to keep your own butt safe, right? You have to be able to stay from a range and just hit people. So yeah, range will probably help. And duration. So range and duration are probably your 2 biggest ones. And I'd say survivability will still be an issue regardless. So you might have to change up on how you play. Like if you played a frame before that was slightly more durable, you have to play more defensively in your strategies, like overall for gameplay. So you may have to like run away more. You may have to back up from like a too few doors to lessen the enemy presence. That kind of stuff. You may have to play more defensively instead of aggressively. If you're doing this route with Saren, right? If you're being like a massive caster frame, you may have to pull back a lot more than you're used to. And it may make you change on how you play Warframe. Generally when I play, I'm more of a berserking maniac with a blade. And I generally don't really care about surviving because I know I'll just take the hits anyway. But if you're using more Saren, you might have to play more tactically compared to me. Now I'm juking everything, defending, and still dying. I wonder if it's Xmas. Do you use Saren's malt at all, or no? Because if not, I might suggest having that as your subsumed than miasma. Because one of the less known things about miasma is the ability to spread spores when you use miasma. So I'm wondering if you replace your malt. Well, Rolling Guard worked. Yeah, that would work. Rolling Guard would definitely work, because it gives you invincibility. But remember, you can make multiple layouts. So I try another layout, or loadout, on Saren, and keep her original kit, but take out Molt,
Your inventory is full.
and replace it with, what was it called? No, I'm using Molt, okay. So I think this might take a lot more experimentation. And her one is spores, and you're definitely using that to kill things, so that's a little too useful, right? Maybe Toxic Lash? Well, then again, you're using Toxic Lash to deal damage and proc, so that would be ineffective to remove. I have a maybe stupid or good idea. Well, human ingenuity has been built on stupid ideas. So, it may or may not work. What's the idea? Because I was just thinking just use Saren's standard kit and you'd probably be fine. Thinking a lot of energy. But I would recommend, let's say your A setup is the one you're currently using. I'd say it's just a B setup with just your standard kit. And a C setup with replacing Mott with something. Like Gloom or something. So I'm thinking there might be a few ways to tackle this problem. And it might take a lot of experimentation. Especially with on how some of her abilities do work. Because Miasma is built to work in tandem with the spores. To help them spread. And if you have a lot of reach, it will help spread them a lot faster. So I'm wondering if you, like, let's say your loadout A is the one you're going to try to use. I'd say make a loadout B that just has your standard kit and see how well that works. Because maybe not having her 4 might be causing a massive problem trying to spread spores to kill quickly. And then on, let's say B, for example, replace Malt with, what do you call it? With Gloom and see how that works. Because it might be just the presence of the amount of enemies fucking you over. So if you do that, slow them down, slow down the horde, it might help. Might. And make this build focus mainly on reach. Like having enough range to hit people with. And that might solve the problem because the enemy can't get close enough to you. And you're able to damage them quickly enough and spread the spores fast enough. Mine doesn't work spread though. Really? Did they change that too? I remember that was a thing they comboed ages ago with for Saren. If that's the case, then I would recommend using... Yeah. If it doesn't do that anymore, I would do... what do you call it? Your 4 would still be replaced with... what do you call it? With Gloom instead. It only applies viral on top of the infected enemies, so more damage, I told you. I don't need to do a lot of damage. Okay. Yeah, you did say that earlier. Your damage is not a problem. Damage is not a problem, then you might just need to slow them down with Gloom instead of using Eclipse. Because Gloom does do a tremendous slowdown effect based on power. And if you're using as much power mods as I think you might be using, like Blind Rage and stuff, you might just need a lot, just like Gloom, instead of Ellipse, or Eclipse. So that might do the trick. But the problem is, I think what might be killing you is the status effects from the damage you're taking. So I'm thinking what's happening is, the reason why the armor didn't work is a lot of enemies on Steel Path will use slash status effects. And generally slash bypasses armor for both the player and, what's its face? Who do you call it? For the player. Secrets, yep, that would do it. Wait, doesn't that mean your duration's like shit then? Because Blind Rage takes away duration? Oh no, efficiency. It takes away efficiency. Right. Man, it's so hard to remember some of these mods. Yeah, so yeah, Blind Rage. So you're losing a lot of efficiency. How are you gaining... I'm not dying because of status. I'm using mod. When that happens, I'm dying from shooting.
You can't carry anymore.
Man, you do have an interesting conundrum. Athens, this one. Okay. Man, that is a strange Saren problem to have. Well, not the glass cannon part. That sounds pretty on par with Saren builds and Saren in general. Are you trying to use like any arcanes for durability or no? like Arcane Grace, or there's one for shields from the Zariman, where I think it's like every time you use an ability, it gives you stuff. I can't remember what it was called. Was it Mott? It was Mott something. Maybe Mott Efficiency? It's one of the Zariman arcanes. It can help you with general survivability. Because I think it does something with shields when you infect, when you do something, so it might help you. I'm trying to remember what it was called. I don't know if it was Mod Efficiency or something else. I need the arcanes for the strength. If not, spores would not be so useful. Yeah, fair. A lot of your build has to rely on strength. So it takes up a lot of mods, doesn't it? You no, you said you're only using 2, Blind Rage and the other one. Augur Secrets, which are both pretty good. Because with Augur Secrets, you can actually keep yourself shielded up. Fast delay, recharge wouldn't work or anything. That wouldn't work. Mod efficiency, I'm using augmented. Which is the one for ability strength, yeah. I know that one. I know that one famously. I use that one all the time too. That thing's great. So that's really good at maxing out your strength. Mod efficiency, I'm using mod augmented. For duration and strength. Yeah. I can see that because you need duration for your spores. No, your question's got me stumped actually, because I'm thinking, on how you describe it, everything seems pretty well developed, for the most part. Because the thing is, when I played my Siren, I only used her for fun. I didn't really use her for like high-level play. So obviously, you'd use adaptation, right? Adaptation generally only really helps when you're on continuous fire, but if you can't even survive like 2 seconds of fire, it doesn't help at all. I'm wondering if the... Hopefully the crap. Fuck, my electricity went out. Play the... Oh! Whoops. I just died. God damn it. I need to turn this on. Hopefully the crap PS4 not gonna crash. Yeah, knowing how PS4s are built, it's gonna crash. Sorry, mate. You're gonna have a bad time. Oh, good lord. Good lordy lord. Yeah. Keeps going on. Yeah, that sounds about right. Oh, crap. More interesting, you guys even have the infrastructure for internet as well. That's more interesting. The electricity situation's that bad, I wouldn't doubt that internet is similar. I'm more surprised you guys get internet at all, to be fair. Or any Wi-Fi. Then again, any country that has any kind of development has a Wi-Fi connection, which I find is fucking bizarre. Like, we can barely keep the lights on, but the internet's the most important thing. That's what I find is bizarre about a lot of countries. They're like, oh yeah, we barely keep the lights on, but we definitely need that internet connection, though. It's just bizarre to me on what people prioritize as a infrastructure thing. Which I find is bizarre. No, the internet... Not the internet, that crashes. Huh. The devices. Okay, okay. Hmm. We're gonna tell store door. I'm gonna head back to town real quick and gather up supplies. Gonna need it. Oh.
Once I sell everything I've got, I'm setting sail for some island that's never seen a monster. Milos or Icaria. No more?
Not the internet that crashes, the devices do. Interesting. Okay, we just gotta destroy the traps here. Oh yeah, shorts and everything. Yeah, that sounds about right. Ow, Minotaur Lords suck. Oh fuck. Okay, run, run, run. Okay, that's down. But I'm pretty sure you guys have like at least running water as a utility that's pretty stable, right? Or is that kind of on again, off again as well? Judging by the current situation, I would probably say it's probably similar, right? Like how a lot of utilities work and everything, you probably don't have either reliable or sustainable ones. Probably goes like wherever the winds blow, essentially you may or may get water today or tomorrow kind of thing, or is that one more stable? For like water, for like showers and drinking and all that. It is a desert you live in after all, and deserts are not too kind for water. Which is a basic necessity for life, I suppose. The Moonclaw. Meh. Well, then again, it's better than having too much water and being able to not live in it, like in the ocean or something, so. Fair. Like, imagine being in a coastal region that gets flooded every year because of cyclones or typhoons. That would suck. The constant uneasy weather and all that would pretty much destroy anyone's day. You lived on a coastline. Any coastline. Not a desert, that's Arabia, and they still have a lot better income than us. Well, that's utterly fucked. Oh, right, oil. That's why. Jesus Christ. Not a desert, though. That's Saudi Arabia. Yeah. What the hell? Alright, it's Tolkien. It's gonna bring the statues to life. These things are pretty easy, though. So, did all your devices get fucked up from that power surge? Oh crap. Life eaters. Fuckers. Come here. oil also, but Mystic Orb.
I have other news. Leonidas was
You're gonna get
successful
surprised
in
from this
uniting
one.
the Greeks.
Surprise me, what's up?
Have increased. I
What's
do
your
not
minimum
believe they
wage?
will negotiate this onslaught of
In your
monsters.
town.
They seem to have a limitless supply of reinforcements. We need the gods
Around
now, more than ever.
1350 at the current moment. But judging how taxes are going and everything, they might raise it to a ridiculous amount. And yours? So yeah, I would say around like 1350. Ish. What the hell? Jesus Christ. Them again. Ugh. Is like we're the same as you guys. Is 0.23 cents an hour while everything. Yes, it would. Means you can't stay alive with minimum wage, and yes, it would take a year to get a PC. I'm guessing, as you said, minimum wage is impossible to live on, right? 0.23 cents. But that is like your currency compared to American dollars, yes? I'm guessing, because everyone uses the quote American standard. Or is that still just 0.23 cents in your currency? Which I can't remember Iranian's currency at the moment. Or do they use USD? I know you guys use USD internationally for trade, because everyone does. But I'm trying to remember what your guys' national currency is called. I can't remember. Yeah, so it is in USD, yeah. So that's in American dollars. Does that mean a lot of goods that come to your... No, I told you everything is worth like the same. Okay, so it is a similar price. Yeah, I guess. But it's still like any other... No. Okay. 23, yeah, 23 cents, yeah. But similar pricing to other countries. Interesting. Does that mean when goods are sold internationally, they are way cheaper when bought? Probably so, right? If the goods made in your nation are considered 0.23 cent, or well, similar. Alright, so that means it's really fucked then when you think about it, because if the good, let's say you buy an apple or something, is the same, like $1.25 or whatever, right, in your country, compared to the States, for example, that means to buy that same apple, you would need to work around 4 or 5 hours just to get that one apple kind of thing. It's like $2 million to buy a house here with minimum wage, which you guess is impossible. Hence why it's more of a serf and landlord relationship more and more these days, pretty much everywhere around the world, not just Iran, but around the world entirely. But that does like really bottleneck you though, and living though, which does really fucking suck.
Oh, is that all?
I could see why a lot of people from like Iran and around the Middle East emigrate to many countries. I couldn't imagine trying to live like through that kind of bullshit. Because like you said, it is impossible to live through, essentially. Not dollars amount, yeah. Read it again, yeah. 2 million days, I meant 0. Yeah, I'm saying cents, aren't I? Oh no, the comparison was, I said $1.25, which is $1.25. And what I meant was it takes 4 or 5 hours, 0.23, rounded up to 25-ish. And it would be roughly the same. Roughly. But the thing is, like you said, the prices probably are the same-ish.
Quick, before I pack up.
Blade honing skill. So, So does that mean like a transaction in a video game? Is it similar to the price, or would it be more knocked down to your prices? So let's say it's $25 in America, right? Does that mean it's still $25 American in your country, or would it be like, no, I meant like 2 million days thingy to buy a almost minimum wage? My question is, how do people survive then? If minimum wage is unviable or impossible, right? How do people survive? That's what I think is more interesting. How do people survive in your nation right now? Is it side gigs and hustles? And no, it's in dollars, ain't same price. Oh, that really sucks. What the fuck?
For you, I will offer my special rates. Always welcome.
So what's the what's the way to live in the country then? I can't. I have to play. Because, yeah, if it is someone probably, yeah, it'd be impossible to even buy one luxury. Yeah, that's true. Need to find an alchemist. Oh, enchanter, there he is.
My arts are at your service. Golden ratio.
Everyone here is like trying to go for high stuff. Is that why a lot of people from Iraq go internationally for jobs and industry and all that, right? Is that generally the reasoning? If like your country lacks the opportunity, they go. You guys go to other countries for different opportunities, or is it just generally for schooling? Okay, what you mean by being stressed out about that? I get that. If it is that poor, then yeah, you wouldn't have much choice but try to aim to be the best. And even trying to aim to be the best doesn't seem like it will do anything, which is fair. I got to Egypt at least. That's one of my goals. Perfect. Alright, let's keep killing. be fair, mate, a lot of people are fucking stupid everywhere. Unfortunately, it's not a your country problem, it's everybody's problem. There's a lot of dumb people. But the problem is the dumb people generally have the most money. That's generally the problem in a lot of countries. A lot of the dumb people have the money, and a lot of the smart people do not have the money. Or the really smart people do, and they realize everyone wants their money, so they just don't use it at all and hoard it. Which is the unfortunate part. Because if wealth is generally spent on other things, it does normally trickle down to everyone else eventually. Hoarding doesn't really benefit most. Or all. For the most part. Thanks, you trust me. Interesting. Oh, I need that, I think. Raw's Glory. Back to start. Okay, I gotta go find this guy and give him back his blade. Where's the quests? Oh, I never did the Undying Tyrant. Shit. Titan's Range. Whoops. Nah, I get you, man. Everyone needs a de-stress, mate. I get you. Sucks. The problem is you just need to laugh at yourself every once in a while too. You just have to think this is the wider range of issues.
A strange new. This plague of monsters.
Hmm.
My sword. We fought bravely, but my trusty sword.
But I'm guessing you don't have it as worst off as other. Well, then again, always comparing your troubles with someone else is always a losing game, right? You always compare yourself to others and you'll always diminish yourself as a result. Hmm. Well, like I said, this stream is like an oasis for people, you know? Just a place to just relax every once in a while. Talk and be heard and also be silenced. And now it's like yesterday. Phone number for Twitch and they fucking created a whole big problem about it. Jesus Christ, really? Good lord. Oh, god damn my spine. Oh, crap. Yo, man, just take your time, log off stream for a bit. Maybe stare at a wall for a little bit. Just don't stare too long or you might go blind. But just compose yourself, think, breathe in and out, and just think. The best thing you can always do is just to think when you're like way too stressed. Or not even think at all, just stare at something that doesn't have any meaning to you, like a wall or something. It does help. It blanks you out. It does help. Just try to dissociate and just try to forget. Just have a good morning, mate. Like I said, I'll probably be logging off in a few hours from now. Got a lot of stream to play, and I got a lot of Titan Quest to do. But if you ever feel like hopping in the chat and chatting, just let me know. Like I said, I might just grab another beverage soon. Oh, hells. It's a tiring day. It'll probably get more tiring. Ugh. Ugh. Ah, amplified voice. I get what you mean. Like the sensitivity to sound, huh? I don't know if it's developed from birth. Or if having any cotton would help putting that, like, to dampen the sound to your ears. I wonder if you have cotton. Probably not the most sanitary thing to do, though. And needing to hear things might be very important. This depends on how available cotton is as well. I wonder if you get like cotton balls or something to stick in your ears so it's not as loud, but I doubt that would help. And that's just fixing a bit of the problem, not the root issue. You must have this high sensitivity from birth, as you said. Okay. Or from birth, but right now sensitive to high sounds, so like loud sounds. Undeveloped from all of the that before. Okay, so it's an issue caused later on in life. Interesting. Do you think you get? Oh man. That bad? Jesus. You said your parents are deaf, so yeah, of course they're going to be louder than normal, so they can hear themselves. Have you ever tried to run white noise through your headphones? That might work. It's stuff they use for noise canceling. Generally, white noise you can normally play. The human ear technically can't hear it, but it does block out noise as a result of your ear trying to hear it. It's a weird thing about sounds and sounds frequencies. I wonder if that might work, trying to play white noise. A little bit earlier. No, they're just loud. Okay. Must have misread. White noise might work. That's the only thing I could think of that could help with sound. That's the one. The Beast End, that's a good weapon. Yeah, white noise does have a calming effect on people. Yeah. That is the other problem, too. That is a conundrum, I have to say. And obviously listening to music loudly wouldn't help at all, right? Because, you know, they're trying to avoid noise. You want more noise, you want less, right? Yeah, sometimes. Good lord, I'm lost in a maze again. For fuck's sakes. That's rough, man. I'd say, mate, that is fucking rough. It's all hell. Well, a funny suggestion would be you record them and then you play it over at a lower volume and eventually just get used to them all the time. So you just kind of just naturally filter it out, but I don't think that would be a good idea. Just have a recording of them yelling as loud as they can, then in your headphones you just lower it as much as you can. Then over time you just gradually raise it up a little until it's similar to the volume they yell at, and then eventually you're able just to ignore it. But I doubt that would actually work. Funny idea, but I doubt it would actually work. There's shit like that where it's gonna be fucking cartoon logic, right? It wouldn't make any sense. Yeah, Lookout Cave. I gotta get the fuck out of here. Jesus, that is really fucking rough. Is that normal though, or no? Is that just abnormal to your circumstance? Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, you probably missed out on your fundamental development years. That does not help for a child's growth or development, to be fair. Still alone, though. Jesus. Gotcha. Hmm.
I thank the gods we keep the scrolls. Yes, I am sure the scroll of which you speak is down there.
Hmm. I'm guessing no brothers, brothers, sisters, just you and your parents, eh? Man, that is extremely... Interesting. Oh no, I've just been reading your chatters. That's all. Just been thinking about a few things, just working on something in the background. So it probably wasn't just a cutout, it was just me just thinking, you know? What you just told me is a lot to take in, you know, especially for strangers. Mate. Takes a lot to think about. That's all. Left me breathless for a second there. But, let me think. Extreme isolation. Yeah, I get that too, mate, sometimes, right? Sometimes screaming to the heavens does help, you know? You feel lighter afterwards for a hair or a while, you know? Well, I hope you do feel better at least, though. Like I said, it's pretty late where I am right now, so I might be ending stream here, mate. Oh, good lord. All right, mate. Have a good one. I hope you feel better soon, and hopefully things turn around for you. And for the rest of my viewers in my lovely chat and stream, I wish you all a good evening and a good night or a good morning wherever you are. This has been DRM76C, coming from the graveyard on Wavelength 388. Everyone have a good night and a good morning as well.